Well, that froze up. Did it freeze up on your end?
No, everything was all good on my end. That was a sexy little intro you got there, Steve.
Yeah, I put it together in like 7 seconds today. Like they got some new tools here on StreamYard, so I'm like, I'll mess around with them a little bit. Now we're in space. We're surrounded by space. That's pretty cool. So, hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. I'm Steve Shaw. We will be here for 2 hours. I'm going to have a hard end today at 1 p.m. Eastern. I have to go do a 2.5-hour run today because I can't run tomorrow. So we're going to kill it hard today at 1 p.m. Eastern. If we miss your questions or comments or whatever, hit me up on Instagram at Ben the Barman. And as always, we welcome your questions on anything diet, training, nutrition, supplementation, off topic. I've been watching plenty of movies the last couple of weeks for all this free time on Fridays, so we can talk movies if you want. Before we get started, a couple housekeeping things. If we don't see your comments, it is because YouTube is El Succo at times. So if we miss your comments, please post them up. Send them to us. Send them to me on Instagram at Ben the Barman. I tried to post on your live on Wednesday, Robert, with the same Super Living account, and it wouldn't take it that time.
Weird.
Strangest thing. So it's really a crapshoot. So before we begin, the question of the day is, who is this guy? Welcome back, Robert. Who are you?
Happy New Year, Steve. Happy 2021, and back in the saddle doing it again. For the listeners tuning in, my name is Robert Schnetsky. The supplement engineer is where you'll find me at on the interwebs. I'm a writer, researcher, consultant, formulator for sports nutrition companies, and all around kind of fitness nerd that does coaching and whatnot for other things as well. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. So Robert, I appreciate you joining me. I posted, something once 2021 hit, saying basically implying I have a feeling it's going to be worse than 2020, and some people laughed. But here we are, Capitol riots, all kinds of chaos taking place. So let's see. I don't know.
It will be interesting. I want to see how much of a shitstorm did we cause with that New Year's Day video saying frequency is dead.
Well, I mean, you want to be science guys. Yeah, I started the year with basically saying frequency is dead, and some people didn't even watch the video. If you guys are watching, I'd like to know your opinions on that. But I knew some people wouldn't watch the video; they just react. And again, it comes down to what we've been talking to, or what we've been saying for with us for a year, and with me for the last 10 years on YouTube. It doesn't really matter how you train; just stick with the basics: progressive overload, a reasonable amount of volume, consistency, blah, blah, blah. But bro splits are back. So how about that? So, all right, what do we got here? Let us guys know how you're doing. If your gym access is there, I got a client in Germany whose gym is back this Monday. Praise the Lord. And I got a couple new additions to my home gym. Safety squat bar. What else did I get? I got some deadlift rack things you put on the end of your barbell.
Yeah, and it kind of, yep.
You can lift the barbell off the ground, so it's easier to load plates, and you can basically do rack pulls without having to beat up your bar. So yeah. Pretty cool stuff. All right, what do we got here? Fresno, Cali Fitness. What's going on? FCF, thanks for tuning in. And Keep Happy says, finally. We are finally back. It's been forever. I couldn't even recognize your face, Robert. It's been so long.
I know.
Keep Happy. Padron or Fuente? We're talking tequila, I assume.
I had to look that up because I saw this before we went live. It's cigars.
Oh, I just saw Padron. I'm like, what? Man, I don't know. Neither of those are my go-to. I won't lie.
What is your go-to?
I like Maduros, and El Hoyo de Monterrey is one of my favorites. I don't do many right now. If I can get my hands on a Cuban cigar like I did in Scotland, I'll accidentally bring them across the border and take them home, which I still have those lying around. But I'm a Maduro guy. I don't know. a Maduro guy, if I can find Cuban cigars, I'm good. I thought we were talking tequila for a moment. I got all excited. Ryan, looks like I'm listening to this instead of music today for my workout. Thanks for tuning in, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Scientifically proven, listening to us increases your bench by 50%.
Yeah, 50% over where you started your first workout. Happy New Year from Norway. What's going on, Stein? Hope things are well in Norway. And here we go. Frank Fitness. He's not actually Frank. He's from England, so I'm just being silly. Silly question. You talked about training hard enough in the gym. How do you know if you pushed a set to failure and not stopped the set too early? First off, I don't believe in pushing to failure. That failure rep is like a train wreck. That's when the train hits the wall. So how do you know when you should stop a set? Just time and experience. When you feel like you're going to fail on the next rep, when you get to a rep and you're like, holy crap, I don't know about that next one. That's when you should stop. And that comes a lot with experience, doing that time and time and time and time again. You also want to stop a rep when your form starts to break down. When you do that deadlift rep and you're barely holding it together with duct tape and prayers, then you don't need to be doing another rep. So with that said, Robert, there are some exercises that you can go to failure. They're less forgiving. Do you have any exercises you take to failure?
I mean, yeah, just about any isolation exercise you can take to failure. Compound lifts, unless you're doing like a body weight variant of it, like push-ups or like body weight lunges or something like that, that's when I would take it to failure if you're in a machine. I mean, you could make the argument that you could maybe take the leg press to failure since you got those safeties, but even then I would still probably do a rep or two left in the tank on those. But isolation exercises, yeah, you can take those to failure. Those have both that's less risk of injury on those and less central fatigue as well.
I find a bench press, barbell bench press, it's easy to take to failure on my body. Dumbbell bench press, not so much, not as much. I don't really take those to failure. I prefer reps for those. Yeah. If I have to take dumbbell curls to failure, I'll be cussing. I mean, I'll just dumbbell curls for whatever reason. Once you get to that zone, they're just unbearably hard for me. Things like barbell rows or pendlay rows, where you can immediately tell on that rep where you're losing speed and power. That's more of a mechanical breakdown, mechanical failure. So that's when I stop those. So it's not a silly question at all. It's a very, very good question. But you want to it comes with experience, and you also have to play it safe. So
yeah, especially like with beginners, beginners and maybe even early intermediates don't really have a concept of failure. Like their mind is going to tell them to check out before their muscles probably are actually done with having any juice left in the tank.
One thing I talked with Paul Carter about when I had him on, I'm not sure if you saw that video, Robert, but it was, if you ask somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience to push a set hard, they're going to actually stop that set 3, 4, 5 reps before literal failure.
Yep.
So the point is, and this is not to insult anybody, the point is most of us need more and more and more experience because we think we're pushing sets hard enough where we generally have 3, 4, 5 more reps in the tank. I found this to be true when training with people face to face. Like, come on, you can do more than I know you can do more than that. And I'm not insulting them. I just know from experience. I can tell from bar speed and all that kind of stuff. Robert, what are you eating today?
Protein bar. That was the last bite of my protein bar, which I've got legs after our live, so I'm trying to fuel up for that.
All right, Robert, I got something special for you today. Are you strapped in and ready for it?
I'm ready.
We have this. I will admit, friends, family, Romans, countrymen. Whoa, we got a pop-up here. I was sitting on the throne today contemplating my next move as emperor, and this popped up into my Instagram feed. It is called Good Fish, and they are salmon skins.
Ooh.
So I want you to take a look at these, Robert, and see if, when you have time, to see if there's anything about these that looks sketch, like processed food ingredients or whatever.
Okay.
Because I was almost tempted. I mean, 80 calories per bag, 10 grams of protein, no carbs. It looks pretty sexy, some omega-3 unsaturated fats, whatever. But check those out when you got a time. See what you think.
Yeah, just pulled the tab up. I'll make sure to look at it after we get off the live. I'll keep that saved.
Yeah, I mean, anytime I can find a snack that's a little bit, based off organ meat, right? Organ, even if it's a fish skin, I'll take it if it's not a complete train wreck. Priscilla, Happy New Year, Priscilla. Welcome to the feed. Appreciate you being here. Stein, how lean is ultimate to start the long lean bulk? Good question. Robert, I'm going to let you dive into this. How lean do you think people should be before they? And I'm going to say, if you're going to do a long lean bulk, it's got to be a year. It's a long lean bulk. It's going to be a year to 2 years where you dig in and gain 12 to 24 pounds.
How lean? I mean, see, there's a problem with this to a certain extent because all of the metrics or the apparatuses we use to measure body fat all come with like this huge variability gap and wide range. So like say you're using like one of those bioelectric impedance devices to where like the scale that you stand on, it runs a current through your legs, or the little hand monitor. That what happens with that is that the electricity takes the shortest path through your body, so it doesn't give you an accurate assessment for what your body fat level is. So it might say you're 18% when you really could be something as low as 14 or as high as 22. Same thing with any of these equations, the fat calipers, even DEXA, which is, a lot of people consider, one of the upper ends, like the gold standard or the 4-compartment model of doing it. They all have their own drawbacks and limitations. So a lot of it, I would say, is like touch and feel. But if you can get somewhere in like the 11 to 13%, somewhere around there, I would say that's a starting point. Now, that's pretty lean. I mean, you're going to have, 6-pack abs by that point. Most guys will, if you got, halfway decent genetics for, your midsection. To where you can start seeing that your love handles are basically non-existent unless like that's one of like these super stubborn areas on your body. But that's probably a good starting point, somewhere in like the 12%, 13% range. You could start as high as 15. It really depends on how lean you are and how much fat you want to accumulate and how comfortable you are with putting fat on your body, because that's going to be, kind of a mind fuck in and of itself. Like you're going to have to get over possibly losing your abs if you're serious about doing like a long lean bulk.
So, I'm going to add to what Robert said is that you also have to do some basic math and calculate where you want to go. I generally recommend 1 pound per month. And that's going to be after maybe a 2-week adjustment period where you raise your calories to find, where you're doing some dialing in, maybe even a month. But after that point, you want to, if you're going to be gaining, bulking for a year, you want to aim for about 1 pound a month, maybe 16 pounds a year if you're training really hard. And how do you know if you're training really hard? Well, you have to really have somebody like myself or Robert take a look at it and say, yeah, this guy is rocking it. But math, if you're 220 pounds now and you want to do a 2-year lean bulk, you're going to be over that 240, 245, maybe 250 mark. That's pretty heavy. That's pushing the limit.
Yeah.
So if you do a bulk when you're a little bit heavier, that's okay. But you need to shut that valve off at some point. You get to 240, 250, you're going to have a pretty substantial cut after that point. So I will say this, just as an end cap, wherever you think your weight needs to be, if you look in the mirror and you're happy with how you look and you understand I can go a year or 2 years and slowly gain weight, and it's not going to bug me like I have to jump to a cut. I have to jump to a cut. I have to jump to a cut. Take it 5 pounds deeper than you are at that point. But, the point I just mentioned, and I made a video about this within the last 2 weeks. I see people doing this all the time, and some of my clients have a tendency to do this, and it's just human nature. They're not as lean as they should be when they start. So when they start the bulk, it's like 2 months into it, I got to cut. Then we do a bulk again for 2 months, and I got a cut. It's like you're continually ping-ponging back and forth between bulk and cut. If that's you, get the fat off.
Yep.
Dave, one of our insiders. Thank you, Dave, for your support. Production quality is up. Yep, we fed the programmers an extra couple of nuts and seeds, and actually we just got a couple new features we're testing out.
Yeah, and thanks to Dave. Dave tuned into our Wednesday live that I did with Sandy and sent us over a couple of recipes that for crab cakes made with lion's mane mushrooms, which is kind of cool.
Oh, really? It's hard to find lion's mane around here. I think I went hunting for them at Whole Foods, and I didn't have a mask on, and they kicked me out. So, well, sometimes you're just driving around, and you don't have your handy dandy, superhero mask, ready to launch. Hey, speaking of unique foods, fiddlehead ferns. Do you ever use those, Robert?
No, are they anything like the ferns from fennel, like the fennel fronds?
No, not really. Fiddlehead ferns, I taste a little bit like broccoli from what I've told.
Oh, okay.
They have them at some of the Whole Foods, but you just fry them in a pan with like olive oil. And let me see. Well, if you can find them, anybody that's watching wants some good nutrition. Hey, there's Mickey Mouse. I'm not sure why.
Wacky looking things.
But I believe they taste a little bit like broccoli. You can just kind of saute them in salt, pepper, and olive oil, and they're pretty hearty, for what they are.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Whole Foods occasionally has them. They're really hard to locate, but if any of you can locate them, they're just full of good nutrition, really good taste. From what I hear, if I could actually find them, we're actually thinking about growing our own just because we can't find them anywhere. Let's see, what do we got here? Scotty Mac, Happy New Year, big fella. Straight in with your no gym PDF. Sorry, you have to do the no gym PDF, Scotty Mac. Scotty is from Scotland. All the gyms open down by you, Robert?
Yeah, there have been no gym closures here, and douchebag McFucktard mayor tried to close all the restaurants and bars in Austin at 10:31. 5 days before New Year's Eve or 3 days before New Year's Eve, I think on like the 28th or 29th. And they couldn't reopen until 6 a.m. And the restaurant, which is in direct opposition to what the governor said, like he said, you can't just put these arbitrary rules in here. So what the attorney general had to do is go and file like all these different lawsuits against the city of Austin and the Travis County shitbag judge that backed the mayor's orders. Saying that, and so the whole restaurant association started protesting and filing grievances against the mayor and all of that. So luckily the restaurants got to stay open all through midnight and do all this, maintain their business open during New Year's Eve. But everything else has been open more or less here. Although they're still trying to fearmonger the shit out of people. I mean, it's Austin. It's the blue-haired hippie fucktard sector of Texas. So
yeah,
there's my spiel.
Yeah, I mean, people want to know, how you want to know how I'm handling it. We're actually looking for a new place to live. It's not that masks and COVID and all that kind of crap aside in politics, I'm trying to find a way to get further away from people. I live downtown. I live in a really nice small city. I got homeless people here. I got meth addicts here. I mean, it's just growing problems in small town America. And I'm the one calling the police, like, can we help these homeless people? Please, can we help these homeless people, please? They're literally right outside my window at this park that I can see. No one's doing anything. They refuse treatment. It's like, we're looking for a new place to live. New Hampshire looks pretty sexy.
Mm.
New Hampshire is actually really aggressive as far as recruiting folks. If you actually search it, they have one of the lowest tax rates in the United States. They're very, very pro-freedom. So if we can't get to Europe, we really want to move to Scotland or find a house in Scotland in the middle of fucking nowhere. And I know the Scottish politics aren't probably any better in America, but we're looking to get away from people. So
yeah, that's the exact same thing. Sandy and I we've been kind of entertaining the idea of like getting another house, either like getting some, like going in with, I don't know, maybe my sister or somebody on like a second house in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And we got a realtor the day after Christmas and starting to look at properties because we are hell bent. And I might just go live there 6 months of the year. Like I'm going to leave Sandy here with the kid and I'm just going to go live in the woods by myself. So all the time, like Sandy's teaching, Sandy at the Half Lake can hang out here in Texas. And I'm just going to be out in the woods writing my memoirs on Walden Pond like Thoreau did.
Well, you know, people think it's funny, but like, I don't want to move to a big city in Scotland. When we went to Scotland last year, you know, there's outside of like Edinburgh and Glasgow and stuff like that, you know, you don't have stuff open. It's not fast food everywhere. It's a little bit, it's a big step down in a good way from America, where you don't have all that temptation and all those billboards, and you don't even have rest stops. You know, you just have to be more self-sustaining, and it's a slower pace. And man, I would love just to do my job, what I do here, and then kick out my back porch, smoke a cigar, and not see a fucking person for a week. That way I don't have to get any arguments or debates.
Yeah, or just see the idiocy of the average person. And sorry for anybody that's tuning in that I'm not calling you an idiot. People in mass are retarded. They are easily duped. They turn to frenzy and hysterics and everything else. I'm done with it, especially after 2020 and seeing the shit fuckery that's 2021 is starting with.
Well, we've all seen it in our social media feeds. Like the more we're embedded in social media, we have a tendency to be like everybody's an idiot or an asshole, and really it's not true. You know, when we're out walking in our neighborhood, people are nice and polite and reasonable, but it's like the 5 or 10% of people that, you know, are just complete lunatics, and you don't know if they can even change their light bulb, and they're posting on social media every 5 minutes. You know, those are the people I want to be away from.
Or you have a mother-in-law that's a moron.
Yeah, no comment there, Robert. So what do we got here? Shiv, full body workout or bro splits for long term for Natty? Long term, yeah, I don't think you can really stick with full body workouts. Not because they're not going to yield good results. They would, but you're going to end up spending more and more time in the gym. I've had several people this week complain to me about that very thing. If you're going to do a full body workout, and let's say you start off with squats, and then you do bench, and then you got to do a back exercise, and it can't be a wimpy back exercise. So take your pick, dumbbell rows, barbell rows, whatever. And then you do a shoulder exercise, and eventually sometime during the week, you're looking at 3-4 heavy compounds, usually every workout, a lot of warm-up sets, a lot of rest in between sets, and I don't find it fun. And I don't find that time in the gym fun. So natty lifters, you know, me and Paul Carter talked about this, and Robert, let me know your thoughts. You know, start off with a full body, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 6 months, progress to an AB type of split. And then eventually, as you reach that late beginner, early intermediate stage, you can pretty much train however you want, and it's going to be a grind for 3 or 4 years. So, Robert, any opinion on that?
No, I mean, it's just to, I guess, build upon Shiv's question or statement. It doesn't have to be either of those two splits either. I mean, you could do an upper-lower. You could do a push-pull leg split. You could do push-pull legs, day off, upper-lower. So you could do a 5-day split. You could do a 3-day split, a 4-day split. I mean, there's so many different splits. It's about finding a program that gets you motivated to get your ass in the gym and train hard. And the program that's working for you now may not be the program that you're doing 6 months or 6 years from now, just because you want to find like you fatigue a little bit certain. So I can't do like an entire upper body workout because my shoulders are gassed. So after doing like bench presses, pull-ups, rows, if I tried to do any kind of like shoulder press or like a pike push-up or Arnold press or something, I'm doing like 2/3 of what I can normally press if I'm starting out like fresh doing shoulder things. So I've had to, you know, this comes with experience, like Steve said earlier. You're going to eventually come and tailor your own split to some muscle groups recover faster. Some muscle groups you can hit with higher intensities, but less frequently. And it's going to be a mix. So where you might be training legs twice a week, where you only train, you know, chest once a week, or vice versa, you know, you train back twice a week and you can only train hamstrings once a week. You're going to develop this as you start to learn your body and see how certain exercises inflict certain amount of fatigue on you, not only like the local muscles, but on like the systemic fatigue as well.
Yeah, and Robert, one thing I talk about on this channel a lot, and we haven't really talked about it much lately, is like the obsession with I'm going to try this program, I'm going to try that program. Really, what we should be obsessed about is evolving our own program based on needs, and that comes back to enjoyment. Barbell rows. I'm constantly asking my clients on certain lifts, how do you like the rep range, right? Because I can give them a program and they'll do it because I gave them a program, but are they enjoying it? So barbell rows and overhead presses, for example, are movements where some people like lower rep sets, some people like higher rep sets. Focus on evolving your program based on needs. I like bro splits because when I go in the gym to do a full body or upper lower, I got to do a heavy compound, then I got to do a heavy compound, then I got to do a heavy compound. With a body part split, I can go in and do my big beefy, and then I kind of slowly step down the intensity ladder, and I can adjust and have laser focus on that area. It's not just about beating it, into oblivion. It's just that I have more focus on one area, so I can go hit it hard and then pull down a little with dumbbell benches and pull down a little bit with dips and push-ups and really zero in target that day. So that's why I like them. And I've tried training other ways many, many times over the years. I actually did the Drunk Russian program where I train each body part with 1 or 2 sets a day, 5 days a week. That's the longest program I've run other than a bro split. And I did that for months. I don't know how many months. I enjoyed it because it was brief. It was brief and intense each day.
Yeah.
So, Priscilla, does someone who lifts less weight than someone else can look the same level of muscularity once a person is reaching their peak? Okay, so I think what you're saying here is if someone is naturally stronger out of the gate and they're both doing progressive overload, is that the way you'd interpret this, Robert? You got 2 people. One's naturally stronger out of the gate, one's naturally weaker. Can they look the same level of muscularity once a person is reaching their peak using progressive overload?
Yeah, I think that's the proper way to interpret the question.
I'm going to say generally no, because somebody who naturally has more strength out of the gate generally has more muscle mass genetically. I want to look back, and this is not a rule. It is a generalization. But I remember in football in high school, I had one of our star running backs. His name was Jeff Abler, and he looked like a fucking bodybuilder out of the womb. I mean, this guy looked, and he still does to this day, like I do not want to run into this guy. I had a couple guys like that in high school that looked like where did you get that muscle from? But you can start super weak and get your dumbbell benches, like for a male, they can start super weak and get their dumbbell benches to 50s for reps, and they're probably not going to have a lot of muscle mass. So at some point, you need to get your strength levels to a reasonable mark. Is that fair to say, Robert?
Yeah, I would agree with all of that.
I mean, if you're under strength, generally you're probably behind the 8 ball a little bit with muscle.
Yeah.
All right, Slim. What's going on, Slim? I'm done with political nonsense. I don't have the mental energy for anyone. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't know about you, Robert. I'm just done hearing about it. It's all we talk about anymore. No one talks about movies or literature or jazz or trumpet solos. Everybody's talking about the same shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why I've even stopped watching sports. Like I didn't watch any football this year, like college or pro. I haven't watched any of that. I don't turn on I never watch the news much anyway, but like the rare times that I actually post on Instagram, I haven't even done that this week. I'm checking out from like the normal world, as people will call it. I'm getting into the real world of like just enjoying my wife, my kid, going to the local distilleries here, avoiding any kind of that. I'll watch some stuff on Netflix. I just watched the 3rd season of Cobra Kai, which I enjoy that because I'm a child of the 80s, so I love the Karate Kid. But yeah, I'm just doing that, throwing myself more into work. I've started reading more, so like an hour and a half each night. I'll be reading a Sandy and the Little One, just out loud. And so the Little One, like I've got 2 books that we're working our way through now. So one of them is the Infinity Gauntlet,
Right.
The Marvel thing. So it's the omnibus, which is like 1,000 pages of comics. And then the other one is the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. We started the first book of that. We're about a sixth of the way through that book. And it's so much more enjoyable than, all the other nonsense out there.
One thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is, we're capable as human beings. We're capable of so many amazing things, and everybody has a unique talent pool. Philosophy, arts, literature, whatever it is, self-expression in some form. Whether it's mental gymnastics or creating music or whatever. We have all these brilliant, we have this brilliant history of culture, and it even goes down to like cigar making, the craftsmanship of making a good belt or anything. Like, we're capable of doing so many amazing things, and all we talk about anymore is the same thing. It's like, are we being forced into this tunnel, or how did we get trapped into this tunnel? Is it a function of social media, or is social media kind of engineering things so we just constantly get aggravated at each other and can't turn away? I don't know.
It's definitely that. If you look at those things are engineered, like the algorithms, the software engineers and computer engineers that are doing that are designing it to keep you into that feed. Because like, go back to the very beginning of Facebook, back, my sophomore year of college when it came out in 2004, it was only for college students. They didn't have this endless scrolling of feed that was going on like they do today. You weren't bombarded with ads left and right at each other. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, none of those things were even a thought back then. Or maybe they were a thought, but they weren't around. But these things are created, and same thing with Google, like Netflix now, the streaming services, they automatically kick you onto the next episode or start the next movie 15 seconds after you finish one movie. It's this time suck to get you. And we always know that negativity gets more press and it's more popular than positive stuff, which is why all the news outlets show you nothing but, depressing, downtrodden, negative stories. It's what people are addicted to for some reason or other, which is why I highly suggest unplugging from all of that shit.
So I'm going to leave you guys with a thought, and this is off topic, but I'd love to hear what you guys think. Back in the days of blogs, in the late 2000s, when blogs were everywhere and blogs were powerful in Google, and there were blogging platforms, and I loved blogs. I loved exploring the world of other people. And rarely would I see arguments or heated debates. I would go to a political blog and read something and digest it, or I'd go to a blog about books or whatever. And there wasn't this heated debate and discussion. It was more like this Wild West exchange of ideas, and everything was brilliant. And Google made a change in its algorithm to take the power away from bloggers and put it more towards finding businesses and news by real sources. And to me, that's the day the internet died. That's the day we started changing over to this, because now we're the exact opposite with ideas. And I'd like to hear what you guys say. I miss those days. I do.
Yeah. Even the forum days too. Like, you go back to the old bodybuilding.com forums or the muscle and brawn forums. It was an intellectual exchange of ideas, be it
right.
Training, nutrition. Like, they had moderators, they had gurus, but in a good sense, that these people were well studied, well experienced, and you could have a free exchange of ideas. Now you go and post something on Instagram or Facebook saying, "Hey, this new study found this," and you got one people say, "You're fucking retarded. How could you do that? We've got blah blah blah. You're an idiot. Blah blah blah. You don't even look like you left." I'm thinking, let's have some intellectual discourse for once. I missed, and which shameless plug. Go to the superlivingforum.com where you can have an intellectual exchange of ideas with me and Steve and a bunch of other people that tune into our weekly lives.
Yeah, I've made a post about the rule of law yesterday. I don't even know if anybody knows what that is anymore, but like, you're right. The forums used to be like, we would have established rules and we would have a community when we would all obey these rules to because it was good for the community. On my forum, I only have certain places where you can swear, not because I'm an anti, and not because I'm against anybody saying fuck, but it's a respect thing. In this zone, we're going to have it clean, and in this zone, we're not going to have it clean. That's kind of, forums will have a structure and a set of rules, and you're right. Forums died. You don't see those in the search results, and you don't see blogs. And the internet was a better place. Speaking of books, and then we're going to move on. I got 3 for you. Ready? The Surgeon of Crawthorne.
Okay.
It is about the creation of the English Oxford Dictionary. There's a movie with Mel Gibson and Sean Penn that you must watch. Mel Gibson's not happy with the final edit, but it is a brilliant, brilliant movie about the creation of the Oxford Dictionary. I love that movie so much that I bought the book. This one was brilliant as well. Good Morning Midnight. Okay, there's a new Netflix movie. What's the Netflix movie? Where is it? What? It should say right here. Midnight Sky on Netflix. But it's just a brilliant, human, good story with some space themes. And it was based off a novel, and I knew the novel would be brilliant because the movie was brilliant. And I got another one for you. Montana, 1948, Larry Watson. I watched a movie that was based off of Larry Watson's books. And I would strongly recommend Larry Watson for anybody that actually likes books and wants to do anything. There you go. 3 great reads, and they're small books. They're not gonna kill you with time. So, Brett Simpson, Living the Democratic Nightmare. Yeah. Never ends, does it? I heard, hey guys, happy 2021. Robert, Mad Max was set in 2021. So,
Was it?
Yeah, Mad Max was set in 2021. So I'm going to post something up real quick, and I would like your opinion on this, Robert, if you do not mind. 1 second. Where are we? Come on, slow internet. There we go. There we go, right here. So let me just do the old screen share. So if you can see this, Robert, it says, just for consideration, Mad Max was set in 2021. Is it socially acceptable to dress like this straight away, or do we need to give it a few weeks?
I like it. I like it a lot.
The day and age we live in, I think it's okay to dress like that now. So the person did have a mask on. It's a point. I
noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey guys, gyms are closed here in Israel 3 months. Really sorry to hear that. Israel is one of the few countries that I have not had a client in as of yet. Stein, next week I will start doing dumbbell rows with 50 kilograms. That's pretty strong. Nice work. And this is the max in the gym. Doing 3 sets of 8 to 12. How do I progress after this? Move on to like 2 sets of 15. That's going to feel like cardio. And after that, you can move on to single arm T-bar rows, or they're now called Meadows rows. So that's a really good progression. You can do those anywhere as long as you have a barbell. Robert, anything else? Any other exercise you would consider an equal progression?
No, I mean, yeah, like you said, the Meadows rows are a great option. How are your pull-ups, Stein? How do those look? You could also do a superset where you do pull-ups and then go straight into your dumbbell rows after that to keep the dumbbell weight moderate if you don't have access to a barbell or something. Or do your 3x12 and superset it with inverted rows. Either of those are suitable options. After that, if you're looking for something beyond just doing the straight sets like Steve mentioned.
The one thing I find with dumbbell rows, you got to be really careful because when we get tired, we have a tendency to place a lot more strain on our biceps. So you really have to keep that focus on driving the elbow back. Even when I do that, I find that my biceps sometimes fatigue during high rep sets. So be really careful with high rep sets and listen to your body, especially those bicepticons.
Yeah. You can try maybe seal rows or chest supported rows too if you just want to go to another exercise entirely. Because you won't be doing, I don't think, the 100-pound dumbbells with or the 50 kg dumbbells with seal rows. That's you're pretty freaking strong if you can do those clean.
I got to tell you, Robert, there's 2 rock stars in my gym when it comes to back training that weren't there basically 5 years ago, and that's the inverted row and the Hex Bar Row.
Yeah, buddy.
The Hex Bar Row or the trap bar row, the bar is in more of a neutral position and not in front of the body. It's more lower back friendly. I don't get that tendency to stand up a little bit more when I'm doing it. And I can feel them better than barbell rows. I love doing Hex Bar rows. Do you do those, Robert?
No, I've actually never messed around with that. I mean, I've gotten everything with either doing the inverted rows, like you said. So I've got a suspension trainer and I've got those dip bars that I've shown you before, Steve.
Right.
So that gives you a couple of different angles that you can do inverted rows at. I've got a pull-up bar and I've got really heavy-ass dumbbells that I do for one-arm rows and chest-supported rows. So I haven't messed around with Hex Bar rows yet, but that might be something to tinker with.
Yeah, give them a try sometime. I absolutely love them. And, I wish more and more and more for the average home gym user and the average, person that's not interested in powerlifting. I'm seeing more value in having a Hex Bar. I use them for upright rows. Sometimes I'll do 40s. And barbell rows, Hex Bar rows, and all kinds of shenanigans. So
very cool. Yeah, no, I've just used my Hex Bar for Hex Bar deads or dead squats or whatever you want to call them.
Right. Harut, lockdown extended here in Montreal for 4 more weeks, plus added 8 p.m. curfew. Yeah, we have a 10 p.m. curfew here, unless you're a meth addict. And people think I'm on New Year's Eve, man. I took my dogs out at like 12:01 or whatever it was, and the meth addicts are sleeping in the park, and it's okay if you have. I'm not a cruel and sensitive guy, but it's just the rules are unenforceable, just not enforceable. So it's talking about the Hex Bar row, Robert. I'm going to pop over and show you. I think you probably saw this on my social media, but for anybody that did not, let's do a little screen share action and get this off. This is these are the rack pull extensions, and you can put them on a Hex Bar. You can put them on a barbell. They're off the ground, so they function like a rack pull. They're 25 pounds for both of them. They're fairly sturdy. You can adjust them up. You can see we're only in the second clip. You can adjust them up 4 more settings here, and you can do rack pulls. So basically you can do rack pulls without having a rack or without having to damage your barbell. And you can also slide plates on here without having to have a deadlift jack. So these suckers cost me $70 at Titan Fitness. They're out of stock right now. I actually got the last pair. But if you have a home gym, definitely check this out. Yeah, those are slick. One of the sexy things you can do with a home gym is you can jack it up and you can basically do pin presses on bench press by getting under the bar. So there are a lot of uses for this sexy critter in the home gym, just to add options, and options are great in the home gym. So I get no commission from that. It's one of my best buys of the last year. So I'm really excited about it. Ryan, my Romanian deadlift is just as strong as my sumo. How would I increase my quad strength to match my posterior chain? I had it's pretty common to have a Romanian deadlift close to your regular deadlift. I have a video up where I do a 635 RDL single in a Gold's gym with a bar that's like a spaghetti noodle. But that was pretty close to my, within 95% of my regular deadlift. Not unusual. So there's nothing unusual there. Your quad strength, people don't take quad strength and chest strength seriously enough. So I'm a big fan of a battery of exercises, leg presses, hack squats, leg extensions, even though a lot of people don't like them, lunges, whatever. Just a battery of good quality quad exercises and get them strong. Robert, anything to add to that?
No, I would just add Bulgarian split squats to it and regular traditional split squats. I mean, that is my bread and butter quad builder, and it works immensely well for me personally.
Yeah, just on leg press, a lot of people go super heavy and they don't really have pinpoint laser control. And I'm not trying to go Ryan Humiston on everybody, but you need to control your weights no matter what exercise you're doing. So just make sure you're controlling your leg presses, your hack squats, that sort of thing. Oscar, what's going on? Glad to have you on board. We got G. Christie from Scotland.
You have a lot of Scottish people that follow you, Steve.
I love Scotland. I'll tell you what, I don't care about the politics. If there's any place in the world more beautiful than Scotland, I would be shocked. It's just
New Zealand, maybe, you think? New Zealand, like Lord of the Rings? You think that could maybe contend?
It looks beautiful. We hopped over there in the airport and got to see some of it flying over, but I don't know, man. Scotland is the diversity in scenery. I don't see how it could be better. You can drive around for 2 hours and see the whole, one direction, see the whole country, but you can see 1,000 different things. So
cool. I've never been to either place, so I was just playing devil's advocate.
And you know what I like about, and some Scottish people might disagree in the city, but out in the country, the people just minded their own business. No one asked us who we were, where we were from. They just let us be, which was like a breath of fresh air. Stein, started my diet by lowering 500 calories for 2 weeks, but nothing happened. Lower 200 more, and now it's working. Is this normal? Yeah, you probably I see a lot of this, Robert, and I don't know why, but guys that tend to have faster metabolisms, they can eat 3,500 calories a day and not gain. They can eat 4,000 calories a day and not gain. I've had a couple clients like this with fast metabolisms, and they can dial it down by 500 and not lose. But it's almost like you have to they can maintain sometimes at 4,000, but sometimes I have to dial it down to like 2,500 for them to lose weight. I am not sure why. I've seen it. It's not the norm, but it does happen. Robert, any thoughts on that?
There could be a genetic component to it, and that they just have a very, very adaptive metabolism, so that it can shift, like you mentioned, it can shift up and burn really hot, or it can burn really low and slow. So it's just, that's kind of the hand you got dealt. Another consideration is that, you lowered it by 500 calories, but maybe, you didn't, what the number that you thought was your maintenance calories wasn't actually your maintenance calories, and it was actually lower than that. So that's why you had to go below another 200. That could be the other consideration, because even if you lowered it by 500 calories, that doesn't necessarily mean the starting point from which you lowered that 500 calories was actually your maintenance calories.
I'm just looking at my Facebook comments to see if they all ported over. Not all of them ported over, but I am seeing if they showed up here in the I think we missed one. Somebody, Robert says, have you got any pep? I'm not sure what that means. Oh, there it is. It's coming up. Never mind. All right, Ben Brokenshire. Hey, guys, love the content. Thank you, sir. Robert, could you give your thoughts on Axe and Sledge 7th Gear pre-workout? Here's a new one for you, Robert.
Yeah, that's Seth Ferrosi's line. I actually had one of the co-founders on the Supplement Engineer podcast, Mike Roten and Pat, who is their formulator. Let me pull up 7th Gear and see what we got working with, and I'll do a screen share so we can all see it. 7th, I believe this is their high stim pre-workout, if memory serves correct. All right, open a new tab. Let's see what we can get here. All right, preparing for share. Here we go. Bonk, bonk.
There we go.
Okay, all right, here we go. We got B vitamins and magnesium. That's fine. That's not going to confer any really acute benefit. It's kind of like icing on the cake. Every pre-workout has them in there. Beta-alanine, 3.2 grams. That's a solid dose. It's not required that you have it in a pre-workout, but that dose is solid and gives you the tingles, and can also give you the perception that the pre-workout is hitting harder than it actually does. 2 grams of betaine, that's a solid dose. The clinical dose is 2.5 grams, but it's kind of like creatine in that as long as you're getting your 2.5 grams every day, that's the more important thing. Betaine, supports endogenous creatine production in the body, and it also acts as an osmolyte, so it regulates cell volume and encourages your cells to soak up more water. So this will create a cell volumizing effect, similar to like you would get with creatine or glycerol-based supplements. So you get those water-based pumps. 2 grams is fine. 2.5 grams would be better, but that's neither here nor there. 1,500 milligrams of creatine Magna Power. So 120 milligrams of that, as you can see up top, is from the magnesium. So that's giving you 1380 milligrams of creatine. Again, this is mostly serving as a function for cell hydration. 1,300 milligrams of creatine is not going to do a whole hell of a lot when the daily dose you need is a minimum of 3 grams. So make sure you're getting enough creatine somewhere else in the day. I think that's kind of a junk ingredient, and it could be, just remove that, put somewhere else. 350 milligrams of caffeine anhydrous, that's going to give you a very strong kick. Plus, you're getting another 50 milligrams of dicaffeine malate, which is 70% yield. So that should give you, another 35 grams of caffeine? 35 milligrams of caffeine. So total here, we're looking at 375 between the fast-acting 350 anhydrous and the other remainder of the dicaffeine malate, the 35 from that. So it's going to light you up pretty good. 250 milligrams choline bitartrate. That's going to be there to support acetylcholine production in the body, which acetylcholine is the learning neurotransmitter, which helps with learning memory. It also helps with focus and the mind-muscle connection, since acetylcholine is released from the neuromuscular junction, which is when the body tells the muscle to contract, it'll does that. So you might feel your muscles contracting a little bit better. Choline bitartrate is kind of a dog shit form of choline. It's got some good liver health benefits, but from a focus standpoint, the ingredient right below that, the alpha glycerol phosphorylcholine, alpha GPC, is the much better preferred form. So 200 milligrams is good. I would prefer to see 300 milligrams, but you get 200 of that plus 250 of choline. That's a decent amount of, and you'll also have 100 micrograms of huperzine. So alpha GPC and choline bitartrate are going to be providing the substrate or the fuel to support the body's production of acetylcholine, where huperzine, that tooth club moss down at the very bottom, huperzine inhibits acetylcholinesterase, and acetylcholinesterase is the enzyme that breaks down acetylcholine. So by inhibiting the actions of that enzyme, you're leading to longer, more sustained elevations of acetylcholine. So you should have stronger, longer lasting focus during your workouts and cognitive function afterwards. And then finally, we have 100 milligrams of theacrine as teacrine 40%. So you're going to get another 40 milligrams of, it's yield. So you're getting 100 milligrams of theacrine there. So that is a chemical cousin of caffeine, to where caffeine, so you've got your adenosine receptor in your brain. And that is, when adenosine, the neurotransmitter, binds to the receptor, that induces feelings of fatigue and lethargy. Caffeine looks molecularly similar to adenosine, and so it can block adenosine from binding to its receptor. So that's why caffeine, when you take coffee, your pre-workout, it increases your wakefulness, your energy levels, and all of that. So it binds orthosterically, which is akin to kicking in the front door of a house to try and get in. Teacrine binds allosterically, which means that would be kind of like slipping into a window to get into the house, like you can sneak in that way. So you're attacking the adenosine receptors from 2 different mechanisms. So you're getting both the really rapid onset feelings of energy from caffeine, plus you're getting like this really smooth, sustained release of energy from the theacrine as well. And theacrine has a much longer half-life than caffeine. Caffeine's is about 5.5 hours. Teacrine's is about 20. So yeah, you're going to get very good energy from this. I've always liked theacrine. I take it every day. I take 125 milligrams every day, regardless of if I'm having coffee or pre-workout or whatever else. I love the ingredient. It also boosts dopamine levels in the brain, so that's going to be the motivation molecule. It's also involved with motor control, rewards, decision-making, all kinds of other good stuff. So all in all, for a high-stim pre-workout, it's good. There's some better options on the market, in my opinion. I'm not really nuts about the 1,500 milligrams of creatine Magna Power, but Axe and Sludge is a good company, and this is a decent pre-workout.
All right, thanks, Robert. And guys, just to make you aware, we have what's called the Massive Iron Insider, which is, if you check my website straight above here, Massive Iron Insider is on there. It's only $24.99 a month. You get access to our private forum, me and Robert, access to an app. You can send me exercise videos every single day. The forum has unique content from me and Robert, articles. master classes, and you can ask Robert questions like this every single day. So you have one-on-one interaction with one of the smartest men in the industry and me, who's just pretending. So keep that in mind. It's a great value. I contact my insiders 3-4 times a week through my app just to see how their training is going. Not as much as my regular clients, obviously, but I'm busting my ass to make sure they get value out of that. So, Robert, before we move on, I've mentioned this book by Larry Watson. Larry Watson's a writer from Wisconsin, and I've stumbled onto him because of a movie with Kevin Costner and Diane Lane called Let Him Go. And this is a brilliant movie. I highly recommend watching it. It's set, I don't know, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, or whatever. But it's a book based on a movie based on a Larry Watson book. Sorry, Robert, I almost removed you instead of the screen. So
That's fine.
Anyway, check it out. There's another movie for you guys. Keep you busy this weekend. What do we got? Geopower 50. Hello from Massachusetts. Thanks for the reminder of the Chase the Plus One videos. It woke me up again today. Good. I'm glad to hear it. And progression. We're obsessed with linear progression or this progression or that progression. I like to boil things down to plus ones because a plus one on your top set of a lift adds anywhere from 4 to 7 pounds on your max. And over time, it's the plus ones that matter. So plus ones matter. Les Duncan, I'm switching over to upper lower program. How many sets per week per body part is optimum? Optimum is assuming that you're making best use of these sets. Generally, I like to tell people and it depends on the individual and their age and their experience and their exercise selection, generally no more than 9 sets per major body part and upwards of 12 if you're tossing a little bit of machines or isolation in there. Minor body parts after that, anywhere from 6 to 9. But obviously, calves and abs and traps and that kind of stuff, you don't really have to do 6 to 9. That's more personal preference, what you need, etc. So that's a good point to start with. I always make sure my clients are in that sweet spot, somewhere around 12, maybe a little bit higher, somewhere around there. So, Robert, any thoughts on that? Anything to add?
No, I mean, from the research side, they show like 10 to 20, which is kind of in line with your, 9 to 12, 15, 16 sets a week. It really also depends on your training age, how hard you're pushing each of those sets, how frequently you're hitting those body parts, how you're dividing up your volume across the week. There's, a reasonable amount of volume, like Steve said.
Yeah, I mean, the research shows 10 to 20, and someone might ask why I start people on the lower end of things. Generally because they haven't been training as hard as they need to for the results they want. So I just don't take them to the master class right away. I take them to the boot camp. Okay, first we're going to get you on track, soldier, and if you can handle that, then you can handle a little bit more volume, if that makes sense. All right, Sebastian, here you go, Robert. How different is the nutrition in the milk from different types of cows? So we have the Highland cow in Scotland, since we have some Scottish folks watching. We have the Guernsey. What else do we have? What else? What's another common type of herd cow?
I think there's a Belgian cow. I think there's a certain type of Belgian cow.
I don't know. I mean,
no.
I guess the question would be like, milk is milk, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, what is feed? So if it's anything like, all right, so we're gonna get gross here for a second. So when a human mother is breastfeeding her child, and the baby suckles on there and latches on really good, there's enzymes in the mouth that interact at the little area down there, the nipple line, that tells the mother's body what to produce. So if it needs more protein, if it needs more fats, if it needs certain other things, that goes on with that. Now, obviously, that's not happening when humans are drinking cow's milk or goat milk or anything else. So, what the cow is eating is going to have some impact on that. But like the gallon of milk you're buying, unless you're buying it like directly from a local farmer, most of the gallons of milk that you're buying in the store are a combination of a bunch of different cows and a bunch of different milk. So they've kind of standardized it to where, hey, every glass of milk is going to have 8 grams of protein, 12 grams of carbohydrates, and however many fats, depending on if you're getting full fat milk, 2%, skim milk, whatever. So the nutrition probably will be slightly different. Am I thinking like an order of magnitude different? Like one cow is only going to give you 4 grams of protein per 8 ounces, and another cow is going to give you like 48 grams. No, we're not talking something, that ridiculous. There's going to be slight fluctuations, but that's just individual variability. Boiled it down to, is it statistically significant or real world significant? Probably not over the long term, I'm inclined to believe.
So Robert, there is, I've read about it briefly, and I know the trend for some people to hunt down non-pasteurized milk. Is there any value? It depends on the United States, state to state, whether you can get
the raw milk. Yeah.
I just got a friend request from Clubber Lang. That seems legit on Facebook. Sorry, Clubber, I'm going to have to decline. But there are some people that hunt down, non-pasteurized milk. Do you know much about that, or if there's any value in that?
I've heard a few things, like there might be some more immune boosting compounds in there, or some other kind of probiotics, beneficial stuff for the gut bacteria. I've not looked very deep into it, just because I'm perfectly fine drinking the pasteurized, regular milk that I get from the store. It's worked fine for me for 35 years, worked fine for my parents, worked fine for my 3-year-old. So yeah, I mean, there probably is some value in looking at it. I haven't had a personal interest in digging it, nor had much questions directed my way about my thoughts on raw milk. So maybe this will be maybe that's the impetus I need to do the next article for the Massive Iron Insider about the values of raw milk.
I'm going to say something confrontational and edgy and scandalous, but any of you milk drinkers are dumb motherfuckers, okay? Because you could be spending those calories on cheese. And I'm just going to leave it at that. You're drinking milk when you could be eating those calories in cheese. That's some kind of severe mental disorder. I'm just going to leave it at that.
What if you do both? Like you have a glass of milk to make your protein shake with, but then you have cheese on your salad at night. I mean, is that okay? Can I go both ways with my dairy consumption, Steve? Can I be bisexual with my dairy?
Yeah, it's 2021. You can do whatever you want. One of my favorite things to do at night when I'm hungry for a snack is to take a tub of plain Greek yogurt, put in some shredded dry cheese, Asiago or whatever, and mix it in and add some hot sauce.
Ooh.
Just really good flavor, taste, spiciness, and not a lot of calories. And it's kind of indulgent. It kind of hits that craving for something naughty.
Sounds really good. I might have to try that. I need to get some hard cheese first. We just have blue cheese, cheddar, and Colby Jack in the fridge right now.
I like Asiago a lot, but I'll do it with like Parmesan sometimes as well.
Yeah, I like Asiago and Pecorino Romano. I tend to like those more than Parmesan, but I'm not going to turn down a good quality Parmesan.
Yeah, it depends on what the store has. I usually do. I'm usually an Asiago guy. All right, Benjamin Bradley. I've slowly built a gym in my garage. Welcome to 2021. I'm not into someone telling me when I can lift. Yeah, I don't know. I just had a client. I thought I saw it all, and then one of my clients came back and said their gym opened and they can only be in there for 50 minutes. And like, that you got to run in, take a piss, top off, right? That's what I do when I get into the gym. I run in and take a leak right away.
Yeah.
Then I try to hunt down the equipment and see what kind of knuckleheads are doing what. And I'm already 10 minutes in. Then I only got 40 minutes left. So, man, you got to be laser focused to get it done in that amount of time. And I feel bad for anybody that, look, the mask debate aside, I would not want to wear anything over my face when doing exercise. I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
All righty. Maximum Mayhem. Straight out of the comic books or a video game. Who or where can I get some programming? I've been floating around doing my own thing. Me. I'm all out of client slots right now. I might be able to make one room. I mean, one room for one spot, but I'm like bursting at the seams with clients. I'd love to help. You can go over to Super Living Today. Send me an email, benthebarman@gmail.com. Let me know if you want full-blown coaching or a workout design. We have tons of workouts at my website. If you join the Massive Iron Insider, you get all my workouts for free, all of them for free. That's a wealth of information. Plus, you can ask me workout and programming questions as part of the service. So if you don't want full-blown coaching, you get access to that. Plus, you can slide into Robert's DM and ask him about all kinds of sexy ingredients no one's heard of, like horny goat weed.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. I love Massive Iron, but I use Athlean X A2X. Look, pal, nothing against Athlean X or Bradley Martin or any of these other people, but I am the king of programming. I have declared myself so. No one can unthrone me because I have declared it so. Just being facetious, but whatever floats your boat, man. I mean, whatever gets it done, whatever you enjoy. I got tons of great workouts on my site. I don't really care as long as somebody works hard and is getting the job done. I appreciate you tuning in. Beef, Lewis, don't look at the horizon in anger, gents. We need strong people this year. Sometimes strength is fueled by frustration. And I agree with you. We do need strong people, but this frustration, we also need to, with all that's going on at the Capitol, it makes you think you could wake up and we could have a tipping point in 24 hours of a civil war. Does that sound ridiculous? I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff in the past year, so I'm all about being strong, but sometimes strength is fueled by the power of weakness, all the struggles, the things that you face and have to overcome. And I'm not negative. I just want to be away from people because that lowers my stress level.
Agreed.
All right, Dave. So Robert already answered this Wednesday, but top or bottom half mermaid? You got to go with top, man. I mean, you get the breasts, you get the mouth, the face, the interaction, the mental stimulus. You're only losing the cup. I don't know. Do mermaids have butts? I don't know.
I think so. I don't know.
How do they excrete their? I don't know.
Something just comes out the tail end. I don't want to think about those mechanics.
No, somebody needs to answer that because whoever invented a mermaid, they did not think this through.
Merman.
All right, a merman's gonna have a dick, right? But anybody that invents a merman, he's gonna have a penis. I don't know. Whatever. Where are we?
Person.
Are you taking online clients? A little bit stuffed at the gills right now. I might be able to find room for one or two, but I'm not actively pursuing them. So if you're interested, email me, benthebarman@gmail.com. We can talk about your goals. Robert, I'm going to let you answer this. It's from Robert. Have you got any pep?
Got plenty of pep in my step.
Got plenty of pep. Got some pepper. Got some hot peppers, some jalapeno peppers, some green peppers, some red peppers.
Yeah. Got lots of liquid pep right here. I had some. It's gone now.
Look at him pulling out the whole coffee press.
There we go, man. That's the only way. That's the only way to drink coffee. Forget that drip shit.
All right. How can I copy this and paste it in there?
It's Russian. It says, "What a mad look."
Word. What do we got here? Hey guys. Hey bro. Oh, hey bro. All my lifts are going up other than my flat bench, my overhead press, incline bench. Please help. That requires us to look at a lot of little details, and it's something we can't really do. First thing you want to look at is consistency in diet. Make sure you're gaining weight or at maintenance level. So that would be the first place I would look. Where's your weight now? Let's start there. Where's your weight now? And when people say their bench isn't going up, I need to look at numbers. I need to know specifically the weight set and reps from 6 months ago and specifically the weight set and reps now, and then we can make an intelligent analysis. Is it ever okay to use a bit of swing on a dumbbell or barbell row to move the last few reps? Talk a lot about this with my clients. On a barbell row, when you get to that rep where you feel like your power generation is just like done, right? Your speed isn't there. That's when I stop a barbell row and a dumbbell row. Because if you start to swing them, I don't find any value. They're a unique exercise in that immediately when your power generation is done. You might be able to muscle that last rep up, but the speed is gone. So I don't find any value. Do you see any value in adding an extra rep at that point, Robert?
No, I mean, because at that point, if your goal, let's say your goal is to actually try to focus on building muscle or hypertrophy, by the time you start swinging, you're actually reducing the amount of tension that's on the target musculature. So then that all you're doing is inducing excessive systemic fatigue and opening up the possibility you're going to strain one of those supporting muscles by trying to lift the weight that you can't really lift.
Yeah, I mean, there are some exercises I would argue that a little bit of mojo is okay, like on a bicep curl to kind of hip it up, because you're using the hips, which are a major muscle group, but you can finish it out with the biceps. When you're using big, beefy weight on a row, the muscle you're going to use to move that is probably going to be something smaller because it's going to be maybe a twisting movement or something odd. So, nah. Oh, excuse me. Do you have the Bulldozer training program on Super Living? It is in my book, Muscle and Brawn. My book, Muscle and Brawn, is available in ebook or on hardcover. And do I have it here? Where is it? It's around here somewhere. I got tons of programs in my book, Muscle and Brawn. So I would check that out. That is a treasure trove of information.
Bulldozer training is awesome. It's brutal, but it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that if you're into hypertrophy or if you have limited time in the gym, it's definitely something to check out. And what is it? It's basically I took all the things about dog crap training that I didn't like, and I kind of merged it with a rep goal type system, and it's no focus on failure. I like it. So for a lifter that has been lifting for a long time, is this better for a lifter that's been lifting a long time? It's better once you are past the beginner stage. Not better, but it's a good option.
Yeah.
It is more engaging because you have to jump from set to set to set. You don't have to recover. You're doing more quality reps. So it's a more engaging way to train. And it weeds out a lot of the bullshit, a lot of the inherent wasting of sets. Ahmad, I'm a beginner lifter. Should I train to failure? No. When I do standing dumbbell curls, I'm a lot stronger when I do it with my legs sticking together. Or is it okay like that? Yeah, I mean, if you want to put your legs together, the only thing I don't recommend when you're doing resistance training is having your knees locked during any exercise. Have a little bit of a buffer or a spring. No need to train to failure. Stop a set when you feel like you might fail in the next rep or when you feel like your form is going to break down. Some exercises you can train to failure, but it's not a requirement. Anything to add to any of this, Robert?
Nope. You crushed that one, Steve.
Let's see. What do we got? Tim O. Cruz. I love this channel. Thank you, Tim. We appreciate it. And conversation. Y'all speak nothing but facts on and off topics. I appreciate it. I love talking books, love talking movies, love talking comic books. But superhero world's drying up a little bit. I watched the new Wonder Woman movie, and I'm like, this is a steaming turd.
I wasn't wasting my time or money on that. I saw some of the reviews, and I wasn't that nuts about the first one. I mean, the first one was okay, but it was all right. Whatever.
The villain in there, what's her name? I forget. But she carried that movie. I mean, she was so believable as the in the Spider-Man series when you had like Spider-Man was the nerdy outcast no one paid attention to.
Yeah.
She was kind of like that in Wonder Woman as the villain, and it was very believable, and you liked her character. Whereas Wonder Woman was like a stone face, no personality. Yeah, I just was rooting for the villains. I'm sorry, but I was. Park, best supplement for nitric oxide to use for blood pressure.
There's a lot of options. A bunch of different ingredients have been shown or studied for the purpose of reducing blood pressure. Grapeseed extract is one. An ingredient called Vasodrive AP or a meal peptide is another. Olive leaf extract's been shown to reduce blood pressure. L-citrulline to a certain extent could be too, or citrulline malate could work. Nitrates can. Vaso-6 or which is a really potent green tea extract. Well, that's getting harder and harder to find. Nitrosogene is another great one, which is a special form of arginine that's been stabilized and shown to be actually effective, whereas regular L-arginine isn't. Those are kind of my top heavy hitters right there.
Thank you, Robert. And here's a good one. I'm going to throw Robert under the bus with this. Who had better genetics, Flex or Sergio? Flex Wheeler or Sergio Oliva?
Are we going to the OG Sergio or his son, Junior?
Definitely got to go with the better genetics. I don't know. Flex had that tiny waist. Was Sergio's waist
yeah, I mean, most people, like you listen to most bodybuilders that are in the know, and they all say that Flex Wheeler was, God's gift to genetics for bodybuilding. Just his work ethic may not have been there, or his dietary compliance may not have been up to snuff.
I gotta say, when it comes like Flex Wheeler, I have complete respect for Flex Wheeler's physique. I really, really do. But Sergio is like a statue to me. There's something aesthetic about him.
Yeah.
You got the big triceps, the long head of the biceps, the big juicy forearms, the tiny waist, those slabs of the chest, the big calves, the big quads. I'm an old school guy. I just love the classics, so I'm all about the Sergio. What do we got? Tuned in. All right. Thank you. Rich Piano said there's three types of people. People that talk about other people, things, or ideas. I think he probably stole that from somewhere because that sounds familiar. People that hobby forums where people talked about things, now talk about people. No one talks about ideas anymore. That's funny. It's probably true. I can imagine open forums, the Facebook mindset or the social media mindset has crept into that. I haven't been on a forum in a while, other than ours, and ours is private, so we don't have any chaos in ours. I'm stuck at 3x8 on dumbbell shoulder press for the last 3 weeks. Is that a plateau? That's a pretty heavy shoulder press when you're tossing around 65 pounds. The question is, are you tossing around 65 pounds total? 32.5-pound dumbbells. I believe I've seen those at LA Fitness. Or is it 65s? I doubt it's a plateau. If I gave you $50 to get 9 reps on the last set right now, would you be able to do it? That's the question. So that's the question you need to ask yourself, because that's really the core of things. That's how progression works. If I offered you $10,000 to get 10 reps on one of those sets, would you be able to do it right now? I think you might be able to do it. So progress does get slower, but if you are unable to progress, and let's assume they're 32.5s in each side, if you're unable to progress at that level, we need to look at diet, or we need to look at, are you really pushing yourself as hard as you should? If it's 65s on each side, progression is going to be slower. Adding 1 rep a month might be golden. So that would not be a plateau. That would be normal. So anything to add to that, Robert?
Nope. You nailed everything I was going to say.
So when you add a rep onto a heavy set, it's like adding 5 to 6 pounds to your max. So just keep that in mind. You're going to progress much more slowly if those are indeed 65 pounders. Fresno Cali Fitness says, I just bang weight. We do not make any judgments. There is a bodybuilder that's in the news that has married a sex doll. So that's been big news. I think I posted that on my Instagram a couple times. But we don't judge. Any suggestions for making inverted rows more challenging? Get a backpack and slap that backpack on the front or back and just start to micro load. The biggest mistake, Robert, that I see with people trying to add weight to dips or pull-ups or inverted rows is that they try to immediately go to 25 or 45. They don't micro load. So what do you consider a reasonable amount of micro loading on an inverted row or a pull-up?
Shit, that's two different animals there. Pull-ups are going to be, you really do have to go micro loading with pull-ups. Like if you can do like 15 to 20 reps, maybe strap a 5 or a 10 pounder around you and then go there for pull-ups, because those jumps, it's like trying to jump up like 5 or 10 pounds on a freaking shoulder press or something at a time. It's a bitch to do that. Especially if you're doing the pronated grip with pull-ups. I find those to be much more taxing than chin-ups or neutral grip ones. As far as making inverted rows harder, like Steve said, put a weight vest maybe across your chest or something. You can also consider about, if you don't have access to weight, you can change your leverage point to where so a lot of people start with their knees bent on inverted rows. You can then straighten your legs out. That'll increase the leverage. Then you can elevate your legs on a box, and you can keep kind of going up and up until a certain point, until you're using like, a 36-inch or a 36-inch box where you've got a serious incline where you're trying to pull yourself up that way, to where your head's down here, your legs are up, and you're trying to pull yourself up. That'll make it all more harder. You can try 1.5 reps where pull yourself up to the bar, lower, pull yourself back up. There, you can play with 3-second eccentrics. So go to the top, squeeze for a solid 1 count. Don't just go boom and then let yourself fall. Pull yourself all the way up and slowly load down and then go up again. Those are all options. You can even start working your way towards one-arm rows. I'm not sure if you're doing them on like a straight bar slim, or if you've got maybe like a suspension trainer where you can kind of rotate the handles with that, to where you can start working your way to a one-arm inverted row, to where you're just using the other hand kind of just like as an assist, but the main thrust of the work is that one arm going here, and you can just keep this, put as much tension into the assist hand as possible, and that way you can start working to a one-arm row that way, which is what I've started doing on some of mine now as well. But any and all of those are options for increasing the challenge.
Robert, one of my biggest pet peeves is when I see lifters doing low rep sets of weighted pull-ups. For some reason, this is one of the top ego lifts where people will try to do 3, 4, 5 rep sets of weighted pull-ups with the weight of the world strapped on their back. Mm-hmm. I do not like that at all. I just don't think it's valuable.
No, it's ego. It's pure ego.
I mean, if you can do 12 to 15 to 20 pull-ups really easily, why are you jumping to the point where you're doing 90 for 2? What would impress me is if you would micro load over time and get to the point where you can do 90 by 20. When's the last time you've seen anybody do that? Even the guys that are really good at pull-ups. So,
yep.
All righty, Frank Fitness. No word on when gyms will reopen in the UK. The British government has cherry-picked and picked on certain businesses. It's bizarre. I would suggest overthrowing the government. The Americans have a long history of breaking free of your tyranny. So I would encourage you guys to break free of your own tyranny. In all seriousness, it's bizarre. It's really bizarre why people can't exercise. So I don't know. Makes no sense at all to me. No sense at all. Aman, hello, sir. Greetings. I believe that's from India. What do we got? Frank. Wales is pretty cool. If you like Scotland, you'll like Wales. We have plane tickets for Wales in May, but we're going to try to push them to October because we don't either trust you guys will let us in or trust you guys will let us out once we get there. So we'll see. How do you feel about German volume training? Robert, have you ever messed around with GVT?
Yeah, here and there, and I've also messed around with your massive volume training. This is the weird thing. So how do you feel about a German volume training session? So are you, like John, are you doing this just as kind of like a one-off on maybe like an off week or a deload week where you just kind of want to get in there and like screw around? I mean, that's fine. And it's good for like a shock to the musculature. It gets really boring after a while doing 10 sets of the exact same exercise with that. And then there's so many there's a bunch of different variations of GVT, or the old 8x8, to where, like, all right, are you decreasing rest periods? Are you doing like the 60-second rest periods, then 55, then 50? Or are you doing the thing where it's like 90 seconds where you're starting with 40 to 50% of your rep max, and you have a minute and a half in between each set, and then you're going to try and increase load once you get to your 10x10 the next week? There's a bunch of different ways to spin it. I like a little bit more variety in my training. It gets really boring after a couple of weeks of just doing 10x10x10x10. Oh, you know.
I have a client that just went through GVT, and but this guy could go through anything and survive. He's a machine, and I recommended for him and his wife that they take 2 weeks to break in, so they do 5 sets and then like 7 to 8. Because anytime you're going to do something a little bit more extreme or radical, you might want to ease into it, because there is more to the human body than just muscles. You have tendons and connective tissue and all kinds of things. And sometimes when I've done extreme things in the gym, it's weakened my immune system, which is not something that, you ever gotten sick after a radical extreme workout? So just be careful with that. Years back, and this was perhaps 5 years ago, there was a study, and I do not know where we stand on the study, saying basically 5 sets of 10 was equal to 10 sets of 10 when it came to results. But that was a single study, I don't imagine there's a lot of information to back it up or cross-reference on that. So, what do we got? Freddie Mercury, how fast to add weight and sets when coming back from tendonitis? First off, if you have elbow tendonitis, I want you to get VersaGrip Pros. I tell everybody this. Everybody I talk to nonstop, get VersaGrip Pros. All the gripping you're doing is going to contribute, not necessarily be the prime driver, but contribute to elbow tendonitis. So you're going to have to ease back in just like you would with anything. Take 3 or 4 weeks and then start progressively overloading, letting the weight come to you. You're not going to tear anything with elbow tendonitis. Generally, it hurts. So if you're going to come back, get some VersaGrip Pros. Mine are 12 years old, and they still function. They're a great value, and they will help. But just ease into things and at least use straps. Robert, anything to add?
Nope. Slow and steady wins the race.
Robert, I ordered some of your Bacopa as you recommended to me. I'll let you know how it goes. Robert, is that the song by Barry Manilow?
Copacabana?
Yeah. No one has a clue what we just talked about, and the fact that you caught that reference is amazing. So well done.
Yeah, it's a catchy tune, and we played it. Like I've told you before, I played trumpet for many, many years, and I still play it here and there. But we were doing a couple of big band gigs, and we played a big band version of Copacabana. So I always have that. I have fond memories of that song. Sandy can't stand the song, which is kind of funny too. My
mom had the album, and I've heard it many times. So
yeah.
But what is Bacopa, real quick, in 5 words or less?
Adaptogen, improves memory, cognitive function, and stress.
Okay. So anybody who wants to know more about Bacopa or Copacabana can join the Massive Iron Insider. Daniel, advice for making your partner feel loved. I'm going to break it down to 2 simple things: actions and questions. And you have to be sincere with these. Back in the day in sales, I was taught a valuable lesson. If you want somebody to like you, shut your mouth and ask them questions and listen sincerely and care. So with a woman, that can be challenging. If your partner is a male, I don't know. I don't know how it is in male on male partners, relationships. With a woman, if you ask her a question, she could talk for 7 weeks. So just be prepared for that, okay? But ask questions and actions, not words. Don't say you're going to get flowers. Don't even mention you're going to get flowers. Just get flowers. Surprise. Don't say you're going to take out the garbage. Just take out the garbage. What you do is an expression of love and feeling, and not what you say. So that goes everywhere from taking out the garbage to the bedroom. Robert, anything to add to my simple 2-step process?
No, I mean you pretty much sum up the way I basically show Sandy and the halfling that I love them. I'm the doer around the house. I'm not very mushy gushy, talkative about feelings and stuff like that. But that's the way I do things or express my affection and appreciation for them is by doing stuff for them. Taking care of all the stuff around the house, like doing the cooking, cleaning up around the house, taking them to school and whatnot, or just making sure all the shit is done that needs to get done in a week, and they don't have to think or worry about anything, or to as much extent as possible. And then just be there for them. Just be present when they want to talk to you. Get off your phone. Leave your phone in the other room. If they want to go sit in the backyard, have a glass of wine, and talk, go do that with them. Just make time. Obviously, get your shit done during the day, like you're working all that stuff, but when you're with them and it's family time, make it, one-on-one time or one-on-two time, depending on your other family circumstances. I don't know. So
yeah, I mean, spending time together is a part of that equation. There's couples I know that don't spend time together, don't go to the grocery store together, don't do a lot of errands together. They don't enjoy spending time with their partner. And if not, it begs the question, why are you in the relationship, really? Those are moments that, we always me and Fiona get into all kinds of wacky antics and shenanigans. I will add one more thing that I think is extremely important. And at some point in my life, I learned the value of saying, I'm sorry immediately. If somebody says you did this, you listen and say, I'm sorry. You don't try to explain why you did it. What you need to understand is if you did something to push somebody to the point where they are angry or upset with what you did, you need to understand there's probably a reason. And don't try to explain yourself. Lead with, I'm sorry, and listen to why they are upset. So the value of I'm sorry, if somebody's ever done something to you and you try to explain them, look, that hurt, that wasn't right. If they don't say I'm sorry, that just will take you up to the next level. So that is don't try to win arguments. Try to learn from them and say you're sorry. All right, Ryan, if I'm benching twice a week with the rep goal system, how should I adjust the weight? For instance, one day heavier and the second day lighter. 35 for 5 sets. That's going to be an average of 7. So that's going to be about 35 reps. That's pretty substantial. 55 for 5. That's going to be pretty light. So that's fine. Just the main thing here is to listen to your body, because that's a lot of sets pushed to the limit. And as you get stronger, the only thing I would say is maybe just do the last set to the limit once you've built a lot of strength, because that's a lot of volume. That's 10 sets per week pushed to the limit. Robert, any thoughts on pushing that many sets per week to the max?
No, I mean, I think you kind of touched on any of the points I was going to raise, Steve.
Ben says, thank you, Robert.
You're welcome, Ben.
And Dave, advice for dealing with disappointment, discouraging exercise performance. Suck it up. Suck it up. If you're going to ride a bike from New York to Los Angeles, you're going to have bad days. Part of the process. We need to understand that as human beings. We can't control the bad. We can control our fighting attitude. Keep fighting forward. Understand that anybody that's been successful has had an endless number of disappointments, frustrations, or bad days. They are truly part of the process. Truly. So I expect 1 out of every 4 workouts to be crappy. Whether they are not is another thing.
Agreed. Yeah, they're bound to happen. You just gotta suck it up, chalk it up to a one-off, and then just get your ass in there and bust balls again tomorrow, or ovaries if for the women watching too. Bust your ovaries, bust your balls, man.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever. Bust some kind of sexual reproductive organ if you want to make gains.
Yeah, bust nuts, whatever. When is Massive Iron Supplements coming out? Robert and I talked to somebody a couple months ago, and did they ever get back to you, Robert?
It was, yeah, I think we talked about this the end of November, and then we started getting sidetracked with the Massive Living Forum, Massive Iron Insider, and the forum. So we need to get that kicked up again.
Yeah, it'd be a good time to circle back. I explored supplements with one company, and obviously they didn't take me seriously enough. I'm always nervous, Robert, about dealing with a supplement company that's going to help you do formulation that doesn't know about any other supplement companies in the industry.
Yeah.
So the first one I talked to was kind of in that place, and then left me a little bit nervous. But we'll see. It's definitely something I want to do. So came across an interesting topic that you should listen to: the genetic elite in terms of training methods, such as Dorian Yates, as he would have grew well regardless of method. I talk about this a lot. If you give me a tin can and a rubber band, I'm going to make progress. Progress is more of an attitude than it is a set of equipment or a workout. And that's one of the things that I try to beat the drums on in this channel, is that workouts. One of my most successful videos ever on this channel is called Fuck Your Program. I don't give a fuck about your program, because the thing that's driving your program is right here. It's your head and your heart and your drive. And that will lead you to victory using a tin can and a fucking rubber band. So, of course, Dorian Yates. Michael Jordan could have worn the worst fucking tennis shoes and played in the shittiest basketball court in the world, but he'd still be out there shooting 10,000 shots extra a month or whatever. So, I don't know, Robert. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard this argument too. Like, hey, don't go ask for the training program of the guy that, somebody like Phil Heath, who's just genetically blessed all over, because he would have grown from everything. But you can still, so maybe you don't want to use their training program, but you can get that champion mindset. So Dorian had an incredible work ethic. Ronnie Coleman, all of these greats of bodybuilding have insane work ethics. So maybe you can't use their training program because they would have grown from anything technically, but you can definitely, as damn sure, learn from their training mindset, their consistency, their effort, how seriously they take recovery, and all of those kind of things.
Now, I would add that my statement does, from a logic standpoint, my statement does not negate the possibility that his training style does not have some superior components to it.
Right.
There are some things I don't personally like, but the key thing circle back to is training evolution, and using reason, looking at all the programs of all the successful athletes and seeing what they have in common, and trying to establish those commonalities before trying to add differences.
Yep.
That's kind of what I do. I try to find what everybody is doing. Look at the sea of 10,000 lifters. What is everybody doing? Everybody doing. Progress. They're a lot stronger than they were when they started. They use pretty much the same exercises we talk about. So we can find those pillars, and then we can kind of look at the fringe stuff and say maybe there's a little bit better way. Does that make logical sense?
Yep.
This one's for you, Robert. I love you.
I love you too, Proma.
For an intermediate lifter wanting to do the exact same lift twice a week, is it essential the 2 days are a different weight? No, it's not essential. I heard it is. I don't know. A lot of this comes from the Lane Norton. No offense to Lane, but the power days and the hypertrophy days, and kind of like somehow changing up different rep ranges, like they magically have different end results. No, it's not a requirement. It depends on the structure of the program, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and also depends on like your own individual kind of bone structure makeup, your tendencies to develop overuse injuries. So that's one reason why it's recommended to train, different exercises from different angles, experiment with different rep ranges. It just helps prevent, some people have really wonky elbows, knees, and hips to where they can only go hard 1 day a week. And so by going, having 1 day heavy and 1 day light, you're still hitting the target musculature, but hitting it from slightly different angles, not inducing as much strain and stress on those support structures from the exact same angle. So that's going to maybe allow you to train a little bit longer, a little bit harder over the long term, and have to take less deloads or active recovery periods.
Yeah, to speak on what Robert said, over the long run, which is what we also have to factor into place, and we rarely do as lifters. Beating your body up with the same heavy weight and the same exercise over and over again is not always the best way. Rotating intensity. I do not program generally this movements twice a week for any clients. I try to find exercise variations just so we don't have overuse injuries. Plus, I just find value in exercise rotation. Is there a problem with soy consumption?
There is an article available. Go ahead, Steve.
I love soy sauce, Robert. Am I okay?
You are okay, Steve. RKO by Orton. There is an article that you have access to on the Massive Iron Insider Group if you join that, or an article for sale on Super Living Today that answers that exact same question for the full detailed answer.
Yeah, for the full detailed answer. What do we got here? Stein, do you have a non-stim pre-workout you would recommend?
There are so many that really, really top quality stim-free pump pre-workouts these days. Apollo Nutrition makes one called Bare Knuckle. Primeval Labs Mega Pre White is a stim-free one. FSU by Inspired Nutraceuticals. Ghost Pump is a great one. Nova Pump by Nova Farm is outstanding, as is their Nova Pump Neuro, which is basically the Nova Pump formula with a bunch of nootropics added to it. Sicario by ASC Supplements is top-notch. The stim-free one from Axe and Sludge, we were talking about them earlier. That's really good. There's a really and Plasm Surge by Glaxon. Those, I mean, that's like 8 or 10 right there that are just super, super awesome.
Now, Robert, I am no supplement expert, but I will, as somebody that's worked in the industry and somebody that's a bystander, it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, if the non-stim pre-workout category is evolving more rapidly than the stim pre-workout category. Is that correct?
Yeah, just because, I mean, we don't really have any fun exotic stimulants anymore. Like all the DMAAs, DMBAs, DMHAs, amp citrates, juglin regias, what was the other one? Urea durensis extract, all of these fun things, they're going by the wayside. So we're trying to find other ways. And it's like you have things coming up like teacrine, dynamine, Zynamite, Zoom XR, some of these other like caffeine and caffeine-esque ingredients. None of them are going to deliver what the effects like those amphetamine-like compounds like the DMAAs and the amp citrates did. So that's why we need to start getting a little bit more, we've got to build a pre-workout beyond just the crack and stim component. We got to find ingredients that actually help either, delay the onset of fatigue, increase cellular hydration, increase ATP production, those kind of things. So yeah, that's where pre-workouts are starting to trend towards.
I got a question for you, Robert. It's kind of along the lines of amino spiking, but do any of these fringe non-stim pre-workouts actually put in stealth stims to give you a little bit of tickle your ovaries while just to make you come back?
I'm not going to discount it. I'm sure there are some nefarious players out there, either from the manufacturing side or these like bathtub brands that just, run through these super small limited runs, and they're using sketchy manufacturers and, sprinkling in some little happy powder. Yeah, I believe there's always, to think that it's completely not happening across the board with as many little companies as there are popping up each week in the industry. I think that's just ignorant. So yeah, I'm sure it's bound to happen. But from any of the companies that I just listed, none of those guys are spiking anything.
All right, we got our first Showgirls question ever. Do you all remember the movie Showgirls? There's nothing visually that flips a card in my mind where I can see any scene from the movie. I know it was a movie. Used to jeet off to that all the time in the 90s. I don't recall it. I don't recall the movie. Do you, Robert?
I never saw it. The only thing I remember about it is that it had Jessie Spano from Saved by the Bell. She was one of the characters in the movie. But that was, I think I was like 10 years old when that movie came out. There was no way I was seeing that movie at 10 years old. So yeah, I've never seen it. And I think that also goes down as like one of the worst movies in the history of cinema. Like it's got like a 4% or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. That's about the extent of my knowledge on Showgirls.
All right, I am pulling up a screenshot, one of the top 3 that came from this movie. So prepare thyselves.
Yeah, that's the girl from Saved by the Bell. It's Jessie.
Yeah, I don't know. Pretty scandalous for back then. Speaking of scandalous movies, Robert, The original Black Christmas from 1974.
74.
We
Yes.
watched that for the first time, and they're using a lot of C words. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like, wow, you guys were all like way ahead of the curve.
That was awesome. It's almost like a precursor to When a Stranger Calls in 1977, I think is when that came out. Both of those movies are awesome. I love slasher movies, like the old classics from the 70s and 80s. So yeah, I know all about Black Christmas. Don't go watch that bullshit, whatever agenda pushing nonsense that came out a year or two ago. Go watch the original one if you actually want to see a scary movie.
Yeah, we all they do is in that movie is drink and use the C word for male body parts and C word for female body parts. And you hardly hear those in any movies nowadays.
Yep.
I mean, if somebody drops a fuck, no big deal. But if somebody drops one of the C words, you're like, whoa, that was a sucker punch. Any tips for progressing on overhead presses? You have to find kind of your sweet spot. Some people have less muscular endurance in their shoulders than others. So usually my clients will do like 4 sets of 6, 4 sets of 8, 3 sets of 8, rarely below 24 reps. And I want you to do a dumbbell and barbell overhead press variation each week. That's the foundation. And understand it's going to progress more slowly than bench press. So have reasonable expectations. It's very rare where I get a client past 135 for 3 sets of 8. That's kind of if my client gets to that standard, they're doing okay, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. Chris, boom, go love that like button. Yes, please. If you do that right now, we will allow you to slide into Robert's DM and tell him that you love him. Send him a virtual hug. Hugs are free. What do we got here? Leon, I don't like barbell and dumbbell rows. I don't like brushing my teeth. I don't like eating anything other than pizza. I don't like drinking water. I want to drink beer. Can I do seated cable and machine rows instead and get the same gains? The seated cable rows, I love seated cable rows. They're my favorite cable machine exercise. With that said, you're going to cap out on those pretty rapidly. Machine rows, it depends on I don't like letting people out of things they don't like to do. I didn't like gym class. I didn't like square dancing in high school. We had to do square dancing in gym. I didn't like to climb the rope. But I'm not trying to be an ass here, but those are 2 really good exercises. Dumbbell rows I'm in love with. Barbell rows you can kick to the curb. That's just my personal preference, but I think you got to be in love with one of those 2. So, Robert, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we always say there's no exercise that's mandatory. So, I mean, you don't have to do barbell rows, the traditional type of barbell rows like you'd see Ronnie Coleman doing or something like that. I mean, you could do T-bar rows. You could do one-armed rows with a barbell. You could do Meadows rows. You can do dumbbell rows, like Steve said. You can do chest-supported dumbbell rows. You can do one-arm dumbbell rows. You can do elbow out to the side dumbbell rows. Machine rows, like Steve said, you might cap out on them depending on the loading. So if they're plate-loaded machine rows, yeah, you'll probably never outpace what the machine can hold. But if it's just like one of those selectorized things where it caps out at 180 or 200 pounds, you'd probably eventually cap out on those. But yeah, man, get some free weight stuff in there.
Do I think barbell and dumbbell rows are mandatory? No. Do I think you need a barbell row, a dumbbell row, a T-bar row, a meadow row in that equation for the best possible results? I think so, yes. Those types of exercises have a larger progression window. Therefore, they have inherent value. Seated cable rows, I just find, like lat pull downs, I haven't been able to move up in lat pull downs in like 28 years, but seated cable rows, a little bit greater progression window. Just make sure you strap up when we use those exercises so your grip isn't a limiter. Thumbs up from JR. How's it going? Beef. I'm It's 1988, and I'm 6 years old. My uncle's unleashed Masters of the Universe, followed by Return of the Living Dead, the punk one. I remember that night distinctly, but can't remember my top bench set.
Probably have nightmares from Return of the Living Dead too.
You know what? There was a magical moment when I was in 6th grade. I was 12, so I don't know when it was. But did you guys have the weekly reader when you were in school, Robert? The weekly reader where they'd pass around a little thing and they had books you could order.
Oh yeah, like the Scholastic book orders. Yeah.
So back in the day before everything was politically correct and filtered and whatever, there was this book based on the movie Alien that was in there, and I'm like, holy sweet mother of God, I am going to get this in my Scholastic book reader, weekly reader, and that changed my life. I remember that more than anything else in my youth. So, yep, we let a little bit of space horror into the weekly reader, but no one gave a shit, right? Here we go. Can I get a 200-kilogram bench after years of hard training? That's like saying, can I deadlift 900 pounds? There's some genetic freaks and outliers out there that can do it easily. And for the other, there's like 5 of those in the world, right? For the rest of us, no. I mean, can you be 5'4" and win the slam dunk contest? If you're Spud Webb, you can.
Yeah.
Most people never get the 365, naturals. So that's the reality. Robert, you ever seen a natural, non-Russian claiming natural bench 400 kilograms or 200 kilograms?
I don't think so.
I've seen a lot of big benches at a lot of big competitions that were untested, and even like the Lillibridges are around that level, and they're world class, and they're non-netty. So maybe you're asking because somebody on social media does that and they're claiming natural. Maybe they're one of the top 5 in the world. What do we got? Based on your locker room experience, when someone asks, are you supplementing, is this code for asking? Yeah, they're asking if you're using gear. They want to know how you get good results. That's all they're really asking. What's your magic secret? What's the pill? What's the injection site? Whatever. Drinking 5 liters of raw milk daily. What?
That's a lot of milk.
That's some Ray Shitskis right there. Wow. It's from Jersey Cows. I would shit my pants and fart nonstop. So I can't even fathom that.
It's a lot of milk.
Yep.
A lot of milk.
Just popped by to say hello. Thanks for tuning in. And guys, if we missed, I've been the barman or the supplement engineer or join the Massive Iron Insider. We're going to kind of breeze through this to get done. Omega-3s, are they made? Are they all they're made out to be? Broke college kid.
It depends. Okay, so omega-3s are an essential fatty acid. So your body cannot make them. They need them. So that's why they're essential. You have to have them in order to be functioning properly. Are they all they're made out to be? It depends on the source that you're getting your omega-3 information from. If you're going to like Dr. Oz or one of these shills and charlatans, no, omega-3s will never be everything like these douchebags make it out to be. Does it have some anti-inflammatory benefits? Yes. Does it have some cardiovascular protective benefits? Yes. Should you have omega-3s in your diet for a base level of health and function? Yes. Is it going to save you from cancer? No. So, yeah.
For somebody that's a broke college kid, what's a better investment, a tin of tuna or omega-3 supplement?
I would probably just go with a high-quality omega-3 supplement.
Because fish gets expensive. So,
yeah.
I mean, I couldn't afford fish. I can barely afford fish now, and I'm on Bill Gates level. So, I mean, and seriously, good fish is more expensive. The kind of fish I like, but if you're serious about health, what would you prioritize, Robert, for a college kid? D3, B12, omega 3s. Where's the scale of priority?
Basic multivitamin, creatine, omega 3, fish oil, protein powder if they don't have, if they need something like that. But I mean, most colleges I think still have meal plans, to where you can go and get a shit ton of protein from the thing with your little meal pass.
I'm so old, man. My day was '86 when I had a college cafeteria, and it was basically buffet style. I don't even know how things are now. I imagine they're a lot healthier.
Well, that's how it was when Sandy and I were at LSU, and I think when my sister went there for her first 2 years, because she went to LSU for 2 years and then went to pharmacy school for the next 4. They had changed it entirely to where like it was much more healthy eating. They actually cooked a lot more of the stuff. It wasn't just like, here's a pasta station, here's a hot lunch station, here's a pizza station, those kind of things.
I went to college in New Mexico, and I shit you not, like every other day, breakfast was, here's a green chili breakfast burrito. Lunch was, here's a green chili cheeseburger. And dinner was, here's a green chili burrito.
I like green chilies. I mean, I would probably get burned out of them eventually.
People think I'm joking, but man, I had a 5 o'clock calculus class, and it was calculus 3. And I remember like my first week in college getting to that 5 o'clock calculus class after having a green chili breakfast burrito and a green chili cheeseburger. And I was like, I am literally going to shit through the back wall. Oh my God. Crazy New Mexicans.
I liked Calc 3 so much more than Calc 2. So like Calc 1 was fairly easy. Calc 2, I don't know what it was. Like I hated all the integral bullshit. Like the sequence and series tests, I like that. That was fine. Calc 3 was good with the solids of revolution, but there was something, maybe it was just the teacher I had for Calc 2 that just bugged me. I don't know. I always like Calc 1 and Calc 3 much more than Calc 2.
I don't know. I think it depends on the teacher a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to sound silly, but this is actually a true story. I took calculus in high school, so when I got to college, I had to retake it again, and it was like sleepwalk. And to be fair, like math is my wheelhouse. When I was programming at 12, computer programming, I was trying to figure out the probability of statistics of dice combinations at 13. In 6th grade, they gave me a math textbook, and my teacher just said, go home and see how much you can do during the weekend. I did the whole book. Math is what I love to do. So I would read physics books and astrophysics books in high school on the weekends for fun. That's kind of how much of a geek I was.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had already taken my calculus classes pretty much already, and I had to retake them in college at New Mexico Tech. And I came back to the University of Fond du Lac, Wisconsin to take Calc 3. And I was out partying the night before my final, and somebody brought out acid, and I took acid for the first time.
Oh, shit.
No, mushrooms. And I took the bus, took my calculus 3 test, and came home. I got 100% on my calculus final while high on psilocybin.
There you go.
So that's a true story. I'm not making that up. That sounds like a pretty hefty lie, but that's I've just done it so many times before. It was just routine for me. All right, Robert, thoughts on muscle confusion?
It's a genius marketing term popularized by the P90X people in Beachbody. But it goes back to Joe Weider way back in the day. He's the one that first kind of pioneered the concept with all the muscle beach guys. It's just a fancy way of saying periodization or changing up exercises or forcing progressive overload on the muscle. So, at the very core, muscle confusion is if you keep doing the same thing over and over again without inducing any type of overload to the muscles, it's not going to grow. You're going to plateau. So the confusion part where you're confusing the muscles is where you increase overload. So you add reps, you add sets, you add load, you increase frequency, you increase range of motion, you decrease rest. All of those things confuse the muscles in that it's getting the muscle to do more than it's become accustomed to. But it's not like the muscle has this little brain where, I got to do push-ups this week, but then I have to do dips next week, and then I do close grip push-ups the following week, followed by incline bench press the following week after that. So you don't need to change it up that way. Muscle confusion has gotten really bastardized in that we need to do 86 different variations of an exercise in order to build a muscle, when all you really need to do is do the simple principles of progressive overload. Add a rep here and there, add some weight here and there, add another set, increase total volume or workload that you're doing.
You never really need to leave the field of 30-ish exercises, whatever they are. That's an arbitrary number. And like Robert said, the idea that you have to bounce around from different exercise variations, you won't make progress. It's completely misguided and useless. And people who talk like that don't understand hypertrophy at all. Thanks. Lifted me up. You lift me up too, Beef Lewis. Thank you. We appreciate you tuning in. Robert, what are your thoughts on the study claiming that mixing arginine and citrulline is better for nitric oxide than citrulline alone?
It's just one study. And typically, this is what I hate about a lot of the medical news sites, or the ones that report these findings on supplement studies. Every site says they only report one study, but they don't give the context in which this study, like the body of literature in which this study resides. So we have one study, maybe there's a second one that's come out by now, showing that a combination of arginine and citrulline is effective, where regular free-form L-arginine by itself is bunk, but regular L-citrulline on its own is great. So is it possible that you can get a good effect from a combination of L-citrulline and L-arginine? Sure. There's more research showing that L-citrulline on its own is superior to regular L-arginine than on its own. Plus, citrulline is fairly affordable for most people, even if you're just buying bulk powders off like Amazon or something like that. I'm going to stick with citrulline versus going with a combination of arginine and citrulline, unless that caveat is using something like nitrosogene, which is inositol stabilized arginine, where it surpasses and bypasses metabolism by arginase in the GI tract, and actually has been shown to increase nitric oxide production as effectively as citrulline malate has. So I would go with one of those two options versus just regular L-arginine and citrulline. So it's important whenever we get a new study to view it in the context of the rest of the body of literature. That's the main takeaway point from this.
Yeah, a lot of times when a new study pops out, somebody in the industry will run it or ram it or cram it down our throat, and they're not framing it versus the body of existing work, which is not fair nor particularly scientific. But the news sites, like scientists have a new study showing broccoli is harmful for your sexual performance, or something ridiculous. Like, that's really fun fodder for news channels and fast 5-minute hits. But what's all the hype with this Doucette fella? Everyone's doing videos about lately. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. But he has a past, and whether or not he, sketchy character, blah, blah, blah. Have a nice, I don't want to talk about it. I appreciate the question, but I don't want to talk about it. I don't really care. Any benefits lifting high reps each set? You mean not doing, switching to only high reps? They're tedious. There's a lot of downsides to it. I mean, it gets dull and boring. Some exercise, when I do 12 rep sets, I'd rather punch myself in the groin. I mean, to be honest with you. So there's no benefit to anything. You still got to use the basics. You have to get stronger than you are now. I don't know, Robert, anything to add to that? Any unique benefits to going higher other than the additional time under tension?
Yeah, you generate more metabolites, but we got to look at the mechanisms that are inducing hypertrophy. So we've got muscle damage, we've got mechanical tension, we've got the metabolic stress, so the metabolites that are generated. And you could say cellular swelling is another mechanism for hypertrophy. You want to use different things to address, each of the various mechanisms of hypertrophy. So I wouldn't just do all high rep sets, because let's say you're starting off your leg workout with 20 reps on the leg press. do you want to then go to 20 rep sets of leg extensions, then 20 rep sets of hack squats, and then 20 rep sets of leg curls? No, you're not going to want to do that. Plus, certain exercises lend themselves better to higher reps. Other exercises lend themselves better to lower reps. You get better effects by using, a broad spectrum of rep ranges. So do some stuff in the 8 to 10 rep range, maybe some stuff in the 12 to 15, maybe stuff in the 15 to 20, and do that. Fit the rep range to the exercise and your own makeup and build.
Yeah, there are some exercises, specifically exercises like Romanian deadlifts and dumbbell rows, more than barbell rows, that generally you will reach a level of cardiovascular fatigue or exhaustion before you reach muscular exhaustion. Or you'll walk away from that set, like a 20 rep set of squats, feeling like you need 15 minutes of recovery. And usually that's the cardiovascular system. So each exercise has a unique set of demands, which is a foreign concept in this industry. So talking failure, talking rep ranges, remember every exercise has a unique set of demands.
Yeah. Steve, we're at the 2-hour mark. Do you need to go hit your run?
We're good. Let's just blast through these. Any negative side effects of taking creatine? Robert and I cover all this in our creatine masterclass. You can head over to superlivingtoday.com. We have a masterclass section, which is basically an hour and a half of creatine talk. We get into hair loss and I don't know, you name it. There's no real adverse effects of taking creatine, but if you really want to dive in, check that out. The Calfless King. I went from 185 to 162 in 4 months. Should I take a diet break? Well, eventually before you disintegrate. But I don't, what's the point of taking a diet break? You have a goal weight in mind and you are on a roll. So right now you can't have that much more to lose, man. Just get there. I mean, I don't know your height. I don't know your goals, but I can't imagine you have more than 15 pounds to lose, so is there any metabolic benefit to expedite, Robert, that a diet break might help expedite future progress?
That's mostly when you're starting to get to the stage levels of leanness. That's when these diet breaks, I mean, it's not only from a physical standpoint, but the mental fatigue of the mental grind of just constantly being in a deficit and having to bust your balls to lose weight. There is one long range study that they did where they had people basically go for I don't know if it was 2 weeks on and then 2 weeks at maintenance. So 2 weeks of hard dieting, then 2 weeks at maintenance and 2 weeks of hard dieting. Then it had, just people basically in a deficit for either 6 or 12 months. And by the end, they had more or less the exact same weight loss. So you can make an argument for diet breaks in that context, but it really is going to also boil down to the individual. Are you somebody that just wants to diet hard, get the shit over with, and then you can get back to maintenance or back in bulking? Or are you somebody that needs, you get burnt out real easy, and you kind of need to give yourself a reprieve and then jumping back into it? There's a lot to unpack there.
The other thing I'll say is it's very hard for somebody to get into a diet roll where they just hit that long skid of consistency. It's very hard to get into that state. And if you get into that state, I would ride it as hard and as long as you can. Get it over with. Talk us about bro splits versus push-pull legs. A push-pull legs is basically like Arnold's workout. Arnold used to do 6 workouts a week or 3 on, 1 off, or basically combining frequency and volume. So a lot of my clients use push-pull legs, but I recommend flexible schedules and not training more than 5 days a week, and being smart about it. So it's an okay way of training, just like an upper lower is okay. You just have to have a really good, well thought out structure. And if you're not sure, pass the workout my way and I'll let you know. Do you think workouts need adjustment as you age? Yes, absolutely. At some point, if you are doing it correctly, you can't continue to try to bench, go from 385 by 5 to 390 by 5 over time. It's going to beat you up. Your body is in a state of decay. at some point, and this is what I am doing, I try to do 225 by 5 by 10 on bench. So I'm still maintaining my strength levels to a reasonable degree. I'm just not having that overall super intensity on the joints, if that makes sense. So I think, yes, my body started to change a lot in the last year, 52 to 53. So I have to keep I have to keep being smart. During my time in running, I didn't train my shoulders much, and I started to pick up some just out of laziness. I could only train 2 or 3 days a week a lot of times, and I was doing chest and back most of the times, and I picked up some imbalances. I started to get shoulder pains, and now that I'm back training, my shoulders heavy. So there's a good keep things balanced, but yeah, you're going to have to adjust things as you age. Tuna, cheaper than supplements, twice the omega-3 than tuna. What? How can tuna be cheaper than supplements but have twice the omega-3s compared to tuna?
Plus albacore might also have mercury concerns. I mean, they're only one can a week, so that's not that big of a deal. It's just canned fish is disgusting. I'm either going to eat fresh fish or going to use a supplement. I'm not going to eat canned fish. Canned fish is gross.
Comparing albacore tuna to regular tuna. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, I would say chunk light tuna versus albacore tuna.
What do we got here? DeFock team. How many calories do you think that we need to cut per week? That depends on the individual. There's no way to toss out a generic. I got clients that have to cut on 1,700 and clients that cut on 3,200.
Yeah.
I wish I could give you more.
Yeah. I mean, like we could say 10 to 20% below maintenance is the ballpark that you can use as a starting point, but we're not going to be able to give you an exact calorie number.
Yeah, you're going to have to spend some time learning your maintenance level and watching the scale. And then drop from there and see what happens. Amanda P., how do you know if you've had an effective workout? We talked about earlier looking at the scope of all the 10,000 lifters and what they're doing, the pillars of success, using a certain reasonable selection of exercises, a certain reasonable selection of volume, or a certain reasonable amount of volume, progressive overload, etc. Things I cover in my book, Massive Iron. Success isn't a feeling. Success is following the process. So let's say you want to be the best basketball player in the world, and you go out and shoot 1,000 shots a day in your backyard. You could feel like you had a bad day. You might have a bad day. Cumulatively, you are following a process that will lead to success. So an effective workout is having a good structure and being consistent. That's how that. Anything else to add to that, Robert?
Nope. You got that one, Steve.
All right. Calculus 3. Didn't realize Big Hairy Ugly Dude was that analytical. Just programming, and I just spent 10, 12 years in the industry working against Google. So that was my career other than editing. So Calculus 2 was the worst by far. Yeah, Calculus 1 was like the kiss on the cheek, and then Calculus 2 was like a nut punch. It was like, now that you know things, let's mess with you a little bit. Yeah. Satan has entered the chat. How are you? We are good. Thank you, sir. Do you think switching from whey to vegan pea protein is better for digestion?
No. You get bloated from regular whey. What brand of whey protein are you using? Is it a concentrate? Is it a really cheap concentrate? Have you tried using like a whey protein isolate? Have you tried taking some digestive enzymes with your whey? I would try that, or maybe a blend of something like a whey casein mixture or a whey egg casein mixture. Do something like that. I wouldn't jump straight to a vegan protein. Just because animal protein sources are superior, in my opinion, to plant-based sources on a one-to-one basis, on a gram-per-gram basis. Try if you can shoot me an email or something, Bilal. Send me that, and then we can maybe assess what protein options you have, where you are, and what is going on with that.
Thank you, Robert. Is Big Hairy Ugly Dude sponsored by Browning? Browning has one of the best hat games of any brand. They got the bill curve that I like. They got the fit that I like. They got the durability. These things I put through the wear and tear. I love their hats. I absolutely do. They're in colors that match my lifestyle, being out in the woods all the time. I love the hat brand. I really do. And they have a lot of good selections. And if you go over to Browning hats, they're just on top of the hat game. One of the best hat brands in the industry. So I'm a huge fan of their hats. What's the difference between natural and enhanced bodybuilding? Steroids. Or human growth hormone. Anything else other than that, Robert? Steroids, human
bodybuilding training. Enhanced guys can typically handle a lot more volume and frequency because they have better recovery.
I thought I was in a rush, so sorry about that. I didn't do the question justice.
Yeah, they can probably train a little bit more frequently and a little bit more volume just because the stuff that they're on is ramping up protein synthesis in the body and allowing them to recover a little bit better and get back into it. So that's would be my my biggest thing.
The belief that somehow they're magical in the sense that you can train longer or harder, I think is extremely misguided. The benefit, yes, they can pack on more muscle and they can give you more rapid strength gains. That's the real benefit. But the guys that are successful, natural enhanced, have the same makeup up here, the same drive. So if you think that, some gym schmuck that's taking a big cycle, he might gain 10 pounds of muscle. I don't discount that. But he's not going to reach his potential like somebody else, like Phil Heath, or somebody that's truly working hard. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, especially it's more pronounced with powerlifting. You have to be smart in powerlifting. BKS, I'm 5'11", 205, and 20% body fat. My lifting numbers stink. But would it be okay to cut and not lose much strength? If you don't like what you see in the mirror, cut. What happens is any muscle you have now, there's a thing called muscle memory. So if you lose a little bit of muscle, it's probably going to come back. It's also easier to get back returned to because you're comfortable with the weight standards, the weight you were moving previously. It's always a good time to cut if you do not like what you see in the mirror or you need to lose extra fat. Is there ever, Robert, a time where it is not good to cut?
Maybe if you have a powerlifting meet coming up, or so like a football game or something, and you're at a certain level or something like that, and cutting could impact your performance that way. Like you're set to compete at a certain weight, and then you're going to cut below your weight class. I don't think that might be all that good. But in ordinary person's circumstances, get the fat off. It'll be over quicker than you realize, and then you can get on the long-term gain train.
There's two things that I see over and over again in lifting. The people that don't want to cut because they're going to lose strength, and the skinny guys that don't want to bulk because they're going to get fat. If you are somebody that doesn't want to cut because you're going to lose strength, look, get your head on straight. Lose the fat. You'll have strength will come back. If you're the guy that is skinny that doesn't want to bulk, you're probably just too worried about, bad bulk. You've seen too many bad bulks. I get it, but just lose the fat. The strength will come back.
Yeah, Steve, can you ban this dude? He keeps spamming the comment section.
Mr. Satan. Oh yeah, I see it.
86 comments from this bot.
Okay. Oh, Gani by Satan. It's not a good day for Satan. We're switching from whey to vegan. We did that already. Hello, I have a question. Hello, we have an answer. Shoot it our way. Thanks, bros. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the simple kick in the pants. You're welcome. Thank you, Fresno. And last question, and we are out of here. Lost 20 pounds since November. Counting calories and eating junk on only Saturdays. Mentality has taken a dive. How do we get out of a rut quickly? Habit. You have to have a structure. People that have no structure during the week, like I can eat freely, I can eat McDonald's freely, I can drink booze freely. No structure creates openings for chaos. So number one, create a structure. Robert, what would you add to that?
I mean, that's outside of set yourself up for success. Get all the bullshit food out of your house. But I mean, it sounds like you're doing pretty well. I mean, you've lost 20 pounds since November, and that's only in 2 months' time. You've dropped 20 pounds, so that's good. You're eating junk only on Saturdays. Maybe don't make the entire day junk. Maybe just keep it one meal on Saturday junk. So you stick with you stick the tried and true, the good path, the righteous path for all of your meals, except for like dinner on Saturday is a blowout meal, and you do whatever you want to. You'll still get results. Mentality, it can be taxing dieting. I mean, my wife is 2 weeks into her cut now, and every waking second she's thinking about food, and she's always somebody that's hungry, even when she's bulking. How do we get out of a rut quickly? Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. I mean, I'm not somebody that goes for motivational videos or anything like that on YouTube. I know there's a whole like nexus of like motivational videos and quotes, and none of that stuff. It's just like you got to look inside and give yourself the kick in the ass, or put on a Rocky movie. That always works for getting me motivated to do shit too. Go put on Rocky 4, listen to that soundtrack, and that'll give you the kick in the pants you hopefully need, beef.
Thank you, Robert. Sorry, I was doing some research. Robert, we got somebody recommending peptides down the line, and I'm not going to mention them. But before I block this person, do you see which comment I'm talking about?
Yep.
And they are indeed peptides, correct?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so I'm blocking that person. We had a question from Rebecca. I've been dealing with sciatic nerve issues, and somebody recommended 2 peptides for this person. To that individual, go fuck yourself. You're an idiot. Sorry, Rebecca, for that honesty, but please ignore that crap. Sciatica nerve issues for 2 months. Now, should I just stop back exercises? I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV. I have no experience with sciatica nerve issues. I know of people that have had it. I do not know of the severity. So, Robert, what's your personal experience?
Both Sandy and I had it at different points. It got so bad to her at one point where like she couldn't sit down while she was driving. She's basically, when she was driving her car, she would be like up, like ass off the seat, and just like her legs like drilled into the ground, where she was like performing like a static standing position in the car while she was driving. It got that bad for her. We both went through physical therapy. They give you different like core strengthening exercises, glute strengthening exercises. So something's pissing off that sciatic nerve. A lot of the times it's I wouldn't necessarily need to stop the back exercises, because sciatica is usually like the lower back and getting into the ass. To where I would think that doing pull-ups and rows, that never bothered me when I had sciatica. RDLs might give you a little bit, or like a leg curl or something. If you're laying down on a leg curl machine, maybe lay off of that for a little while. But go get checked out by a PT and see what they can do about maybe giving you some exercises to deal with that.
Thanks, Robert. BK says thank you. Come over here, baby. Let's go Buffalo Bills. Forget that. Let's go Green Bay Packers. And we got a special guest, Mr. B. Butters. Hello. From Butterville.
Hi, Fiona.
Hello.
Oh, under siege.
He's very, very.
Well, your opinion on widening the shoulder structure and enlarging the chest.
Yeah,
I've had questions about pullovers, Robert. Have you ever seen any scientific evidence that things like pullovers actually widen the rib cage and chest cavity, or is it just getting beefier?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to figure. I mean, would an exercise really pull your bones apart to make your body wider? No, you got to focus on. I mean, your bone structure is the way your bone structure is, the way God and your parents made you. Just that's going to be just so. I've never gotten much from the pullover, to be honest. Like it feels more like I'm getting like triceps, and I get like this nagging pain in my shoulder from pullovers. Not necessarily more lats than actually a chest expander.
Pullovers, like the weak part of the pullover is going to be the tricep, whether you're trying to focus on chest or back. The tricep, the long head of the tricep is going to get engaged. I usually get tricep soreness.
Yeah,
more than anything. So I don't buy into it at all. I've never seen any science. I think it's old school voodoo, to be honest with you.
Right. Yeah. Just focus. Do quality exercises, push-ups, dips, presses, flies, laterals, all that good stuff.
More sex, more whiskey. How many times a week should you hit a muscle group? I would recommend a young quack checking out the video I had with Paul Carter earlier in the week and the video me and Robert did on New Year's Eve. Doesn't really matter as long as the pillars of success are in place. Pomegranate extract in 5 words or less, Robert.
Awesome. 1 gram per day. Blood flow, pumps, endurance.
Okay, sorry to cut you short. We got to hit a run before it hits dark here at night. Love the dog. You should make it into more of your videos. B. Butters of Butterville is indeed a character. He's I never expected such a small dog to be so full of life. All right, Robert, we are done. Anybody that's tuning in late, if you have any questions, you can either hit us up on Instagram at Ben the Barman or the Supplement Engineer. Join the Massive Iron Insider, please. And Robert, what's on tap for this weekend?
After a 2-week hiatus, Iron Wolf Distillery is back open, so we'll probably hit that tomorrow afternoon. Got an upper body workout with me and the missus tomorrow. I'm about to go hit leg day now. And that's about it. Doing some work, knocking out a few client projects, and that's about it.
I'm going to spend time in the office working. I got a to-do list forever, and we're going to go run for 2.5 hours now and see if we can find any movie we have not seen. So, all right, Robert, we'll talk to you next week. Have a good weekend.
You too, Steve.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.